Hello everybody and welcome to the third race of the VTuber Racing 2024 season. We are in outer space. We are at Rainbow Road. A quick look at the track layout for this race here. It is of course our first road course race of the season. We will have a lot more than just this one here to go for the rest of this season. But this one will be our first in what will be quite a while before we will have another one of these kinds of races. So, if you like this kind of racing, it'll be a little bit before we get to see more of it. But it's still a very fun looking track, a very intense looking track too when you look at it. There are some uphill and downhill slopes in this racetrack, so you'll get to see some pretty intense racing throughout the entirety of the race. But before we can get anywhere close to what we got in store for later, we first have to take a trip back in time to last week's race at Texas Motor Speedway. I will be talking a little bit more about that race, and I'll be talking about the points heading into today and what to look for, at least in terms of the points. But before we can talk a little bit about points and everything for the future, let's go back a week. Back to Texas. And here's a quick recap of that race at Texas Motor Speedway. With Daytona in the rear view mirror, we move down south to Texas Motor Speedway for round 2 of the 2024 VTuber Racing Championship season. With 37 drivers lined up on the grid, Kason and Lucky led the rest of the field into turn number 1. This is going to be a quick recap of all of the events that happened at a very, very crazy race down south at Texas Motor Speedway. Very different from what we saw at Daytona. So, with that out of the way, let's get the recap underway. A very aggressive turn 1 here by Fu, sending it 3 wide on row number 1. It's the perfect encapsulation of how this race ended up going. But actually not as bad as you would have thought. With a lot of 3 wide and side-by-side racing, you would expect a very caution-filled race. But instead, we had a pretty fair and pretty solid run. Very side-by-sidey for the back half of the field, but the front was pretty well established. Lots of cars strung out, lots of cars racing for position, lots of cars from second on back trading ways. But the one that kept consistent through the majority of our first green flag run was the number 17 car of Fu and Zhu. While not leading the most amount of laps in today's race, still a whopping 20 laps led for the number 17 team, which is more than what David led at Daytona just a few weeks ago. But not the one that led the most laps though. The one that led the most laps in last week's race was the number 30 car of Henya, leading 22 laps, most of them coming from the second half of this race. And with it being very caution-free, this race was really quick as well. Drivers heading into turn number 1 at a whopping 195 miles an hour, letting out of the throttle just a little bit to bring it down to maybe 192, depending on if you were out front or side by side. And that's all Fu wanted to see in his rearview mirror was side by side racing. The longest green flag run pretty much all season, and it led to green flag pit stops, which shaped the course for the 17 team for the rest of the race, for reasons that we will get into here momentarily. With a lot of people coming down into the pits, one driver that desperately needed something to change in the second half of the race was the pole sitter, Kason. Only being out front for a handful of laps in the beginning, fell all the way back to beyond the top 20 and stayed in the back half of the field for pretty much the entire race. With a bad pit stop, it wasn't going to get much better than that. With pit stops pretty much done and over with, That left a pretty big pack to only have about 3 or 4 cars, including the number 30 car of Henya, who led a majority of this final run en route to her 22 laps led of the entire race. This pack also included Fu as well, so the top 2 dominant drivers right on each other's tails. The pack then began to form back up, and that's what caused our first caution of last week's race. 4 wide at Texas, just like at Daytona, is not going to work. Fu getting into Cali, then gets into Lucky, then gets into Hano Mizuki once again, sending 4 cars into a tailspin just past the start-finish line, right in front of the second pack. Now, almost everybody got through it in the second pack, except 2 people, that being Melody in the 36 and Nana in the 85. Those 2 would suffer the most damage out of all of this wreck, though, which is a bit surprising. Callie, Fu, and Lucky would also all have significant damage, but they would continue roughly. We'll see in the results later how they do, but the ones that got the worst out of this wreck weren't even the ones that started it, but the ones that came flying in. One more look at this wreck here, and you'll get to see what happens here. You see Nori up on the top here, just scraping by with maybe some side damage and some front end damage getting into Cali. But Nori, the winner of Daytona, will scrape by here with minimal damage. And the same could be said for the 86, getting a little bump and beaten bang on the sides here, but the ones that got the worst of it, Melanie in the 36 nailing the 17 of Fu, and then Nana in the 85 just coming in from out of nowhere and just destroying not only her car, but also Melody's as well. Those 2 would spend a lot of time in the pits to get that damage repaired, but while the cosmetic side of things were good once the restarts happened, the 36 and the 85 would both suffer significant engine damage. With the caution out, everybody comes back into the pits to get themselves filled up for what would be another long green flag run. With another long green flag run ahead of this pack, the pack would be split up several times by the drivers that were involved in that first wreck, including the number 85 of Nana, who would go back into the pits under green to fix some more of that damage. Now, like I said, Callie and Fu both did not have a rear end, but they both still had some relatively good speed, and they kept up with 1 or 2 of the packs. The same cannot be said for the number 36 of Melody and the number 85 of Nana, who would get involved in the second wreck of the day. Thankfully, just a single car spin. Right in front of the pack, that could have been huge. But Nana kept it up on the turn 1 outside wall and just kept it to be a 1 car spin. With a restart coming to a head here, one major thing as well is 27 drivers trading the lead 59 times, more than Daytona. And with a handful of laps to go, this is where the battle got tighter and tighter. Nose to tail, cars swimming for positions and track position, it all came ahead. With a handful of laps to go, Henya out front, Iron Mouse and Fillion right on her tail. Henya trying to block, Henya trying to win very early on in the season. A very dominant run for the 30 team, but it was not meant to be. With a handful of laps to go, Iron Mouse peaked low, inside line, having the better out of all the lanes to be, would take the lead, and with just a handful of laps to go, had to then defend against a charging Fillion. And across the line, it will be 1 lap to go. Iron Mouse and Fillion single filed out. Third on back is being determined. It might be just these two to battle it out. White flag here at Texas. Iron Mouse, Fillion, single filed out. Everybody else side by side or even three wide. Off of turn 2, Fillion tried to make a move. Can she make the move this time by? Looks low. Iron Mouse stays high. They're going to be side by side. Fillion with the nose out ahead. Can Mouse hang on? Fillion hangs on. Side by side. It's going to be a tight battle. It's going to be Iron Mouse with the win here at Texas. The closest finish of the young season so far by 0.08 of a second. Iron Mouse hangs on and wins. With 2 races down and a whole lot more to go, here are the final results from last week's race at Texas. Iron Mouse gaining 31 spots to finish in first place, leading only 5 laps. Fillion in second. Sprite in third. Soleil for the second race in a row will finish in fourth. Enya and Fu, the 2 dominant cars, 5th and 6th respectively. Bimble finishing in 7th. Noriboshi, the winner of Daytona, finishing in 8th place after starting in the very back of the field. Same could be said with DJ Overdrive, who finishes 9th after starting in 31st. And Kobo gaining 20 spots to finish out the top 10. All but 2 drivers in this top 10 led a lap. The only 2 that did not were Sprite and Noriboshi. Moving on to outside the top 10, we see Simu leading 14 laps to finish in 18th place. But this is where we also see a lot of drivers who led maybe 1, if not a small handful of laps that finished just outside the top 10. Malcolm gained 1 spot from where he started to finish in 11th. William gaining only a handful, finishing 12th. Risu finishing in 13th after starting nearly dead last. Star finishing in 15th. D finishing in 14th. A lot of these drivers still struggling to find their footing early on in the season, only leading just a small handful of laps every race. Maybe this week will be different. Moving on to outside the top 20. This is where we see Fruit, who led the second most amount of laps in this race, finishing in an abysmal 28th finishing position. We see Merriweather, who also led 9 laps, more than a lot of other drivers that led in this race, still finishing back in 22nd. And then our pole sitter, Kason, finishing in an abysmal 23rd place. Now, here come the final 7 drivers. Dreamer, Callie, Lucky. Now, Callie, Lucky, and Melody all had issues with their cars, struggling to really go anywhere after the caution that took out both Melody and Nana. Selene and Reska, I'll talk more about them when we go back into the studio, where I will also have a points update to share off. Back to the studio. Now that we have seen the recap from Texas, let's go ahead and let's put on some notes here for some drivers that I may not have talked about from last week's race at Texas. Now, the 2 that I will immediately go over are the 2 that finished in 35th and 36th that I briefly mentioned near the end of that recap. Both Kyoso and Selene. These 2 have a pretty interesting story. They were up front for the majority of the race, but when the second caution came out for the Nana spin after getting into it with Bao, everybody came back into the pits because they were not good on fuel for the rest of the run. The fuel run would have been around 60 to 65 laps, and the caution came out with a little bit more than that to go. Because of that, everybody came back into the pits, with the exception of Kyoso and Selene. Kyoso and Selene stayed out, but that was a decision that ultimately costed both drivers tremendously, as not only did they fall back outside the top 15 during the green flag run to the end, but then they also came into the pits with a handful of laps to go. With about 4 to go came in Kyoso, and I think 5 to go came in Selen. They didn't pit together, but they pitted right next to each other, and they put themselves in a spot to where they finished both 1 lap down. Nana finished the race 2 laps down after several incidents that included her just being incredibly slow on track, and ultimately just not a good day for the 85 machine. Now, I say that, but once we get into qualifying, a little spoiler alert for that, she is up in the top 10 for the qualifying. Now, other things that I need to also mention as well. Let's go over some of the drivers that also got involved in the first wreck. Callie, Lucky, and Melody, 32nd, 33rd, and 34th, all respectively. Those 3 drivers all got the short end of the stick, I guess, in terms of the wreck. They did not handle their damage really well. Callie ended up finishing 24 seconds back, while everybody else finished about a couple hundredths of a second behind that as well. Tight battle there for 32nd, no doubt about that. But Lucky had a lot of damage, so did Melody. A terrible day for the front runners, especially those that started in the top 10. Fruit, who led 21 laps, the second most out of everybody in that race, started in 6th place last week and then ended up finishing 28th. Callie started 4th, she finished 32nd. Lucky started right outside of Kason, the pole sitter. She finished 33rd after the damage. Melody started 7th and finished 34th. And like I said, with Kason, she didn't have a much better day either. Like I said in the recap video, started on the pole and then finished 23rd. So it almost feels like a curse to start inside the top 10. You start inside the top 10 and you're ultimately going to have yourself a bad day. Some drivers that can say kind of the opposite when it comes to that curse. Starting in the back, maybe a blessing. I mean, all you really got to do is just look at pretty much everybody in the top 10, with the exception of 3 drivers for the most part. Fillion started 5th and she finished 2nd last week. Boo started 3rd, and even if he got involved in that wreck last week and missed out on a rear end, he still finished 6th, recovered really well compared to the others that were involved, and finished 6th after starting 3rd. And then you got Sprite, who started 11th and came up through the field, got 3rd. But the rest of the top 10 consists of drivers who started 20th on back. Got Iron Mouse, who gained 31 spots, finished 1st, obviously. Tole started 21st, Enya started 29th, Bimble started 28th, Noriboshi 26th, Overdrive 31st, Kobo 30th. So it almost feels like a blessing to start in the back of the field compared to starting in the front of the field, which is something that you normally never ever think about when a race occurs, especially this early into the season. What we have seen so far are 2 races where the drivers that start in the back of the field have more success than the drivers that start in the front of the field. That will be something that we look for here today at a road course, but also at the same time too, it is a road course, so we may not see a whole lot of that same kind of racing. Because if you don't know much about road course racing, it is possibly the most spread out it's going to be, because of the fact that it is a very, very big track. The last 2 weeks of racing so far have all brought out some very intense racing, pack racing, and even some fast laps, with the majority of the race consisting under 180 plus miles an hour. Not really a time when we are less than that unless we're pacing. And because of that, the lap times are incredibly short compared to realistically what they should be. Texas, a lot of drivers had a 27-second lap time. That was the average lap time around Texas Motor Speedway, was around a 27 and a half second lap time. Now, I'm going to go over some of the lap times that we saw here at qualifying, which I'll get to here in just a moment. Now let's talk about the points, because that's where the biggest topic is going to be this entire season. And they are pretty tight. The points are pretty tight together here. Do remember, if you do not remember, I should say, the points format, go and watch the first race's pre-race segment after the point where I showcased all of the drivers because that's where I talked about the points format. But briefly to go over it, it's basically one position is pretty much a point above the position behind, and the winner can get a big old chunk of points by winning a race. You get 43 points for winning, but you also get 4 bonus points for leading a lap and also winning the race. So the winner of the race can get 47 points for the most part, and it goes pretty much one on down from there. But that's a quick recap there. Where we end up here today, heading into this race here at Rainbow Road, we have Noriboshi and Soleil topping the charts 1 and 2, and I mean very close to each other. Noriboshi and Soleil are separated by a singular point right now. Noriboshi's only led 1 lap so far this entire season, whereas Soleil has led 15. Not the most out of the top 10, as Henya's just right behind them with only 8 points separating the top 3. Henya gained a lot of spots out from the Texas race after leading the most amount of laps and getting a pretty halfway decent finishing position. Soleil finishing 4th twice in a row, sitting 2nd. Noriboshi 2 top 10s in a row. Not bad for them. Go down the list here. We got Overdrive in 4th, gaining 4 spots. Risu sitting in 5th place. A driver that we have not talked about a whole lot this season. A dark horse, if you will. Leading only no laps. No laps led for the 2 crew so far. Malcolm sitting in 6th. Sprite sitting in 7th. Boo and Iron Mouse, the bigger jumpers, as well as Sprite. The 3 big jumpers are right next to each other in 7th, 8th, and 9th respectively, with Sprite, Foo, and Iron Mouse. Iron Mouse gaining a whopping 22 positions after that win last week. They only led like 10 laps so far heading into this race, but all it takes is 1 win and you jump up a ton of spots. And Merriweather, of course, in 10th place, and that rounds out our top 10. And I'll get the rest of the list here showing off here. A couple quick notes here. Fillion, who got 2nd last week after that thrilling side-by-side battle for the win. She'll gain 14 spots out of there. So a good finish by Fillion will reward her for that at least. I mean, a good race considering what happened at Daytona. Callie lost 16 spots, and she's sitting in 18th place right now. 27 points behind the current points leader, so a lot can change here heading out of today's race, which I will hopefully talk more about here shortly soon. Some more drivers that fell a ton of spots is, well, first off, Kason, who fell 5 spots en route to a current 12th place in the standing. Lumen lost 11 spots and is now sitting 14th in the standings, 25 points back. Watson and Kyoso both lost more than 10 spots. Watson is sitting 23rd right now in the standings, whereas Kyoso is sitting 25th in the standings right now. Kyoso lost 16 spots after that terrible call to bring it down into the pits and pretty much stay out after the second caution. Selene also was not rewarded for that terrible call, losing 10 spots and is now sitting 31st. And then we go down the field here and we see that Nana and Melody, 2 drivers that have struggled all season long, and they are continuing to struggle with their points as they're sitting 36th and 37th respectively. The points are a minefield, pretty much. From first all the way to last, it is 63 points, which isn't a lot when you consider how tight it is pretty much throughout the rest of the field. I mean, it is also a lot when you consider the fact that you go from 1st to 21st and it's 29 points back. Very tight between there. And then after that, it is just a lot of drivers who have struggled through the first 2 races of the season. They really do show more than the drivers that are doing well for themselves, at least. But of course, this is very early into the season. That is going to change pretty much from top to bottom. It's going to be a big shakeup after today. No doubt about that. That's how it's going to be for pretty much the rest of this season. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the qualifying results here, the top 10 at least, before we send it down trackside for the live feed and where we go over more than just that. I will also say this too before we get into the race, as my voice cracked. I don't think y'all heard that. I hope y'all didn't hear that. This will be our only race of the season, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's one or two other races, but this is definitely going to be a rare instance where we don't have a rolling start. We are going to have a standing start. So once we send it down and we get the race underway, it'll be lights out and away we go. So if you are not prepared for the live feed just quite yet, do get ready, because as soon as we get ready to go racing, we are racing. It's a standing start. This ain't a rolling start. It's standing start. Let's go over our qualifying results here. This may be our longest race of the season so far, just by the count of what we look in the top 10 here for our qualifying results. It is astonishing how we go from a 28-second lap time from Texas to add in an extra minute to the end of that. As our front row consists of two drivers who set a 1-minute 30-second lap time. It is going to be a long race. I can guarantee you that. On the pole for today's race, it is a number 26 car, ABOUT, who set a 1-minute 30-second lap time. And then Dreamer sets a 1-minute 30-second .813. In third place, it is the number 85 car of Nana, trying to recover from the devastating last place finish last week. They will set a 1-minute 30.830 lap time. In fourth place, just next to her, will also be another driver looking to have a better run this week than last week at Texas, and that is the number 6 of Lucky. A 1-minute 30-second .879 is the lap time there. Spread out by a couple hundredths of a second. Still pretty tight for a road course race, no doubt about that. Fifth place goes to the number 2 car of Risu, setting a 1-minute 30-second lap time again. I mean, these are all really close together. You have to go down to Soleil in 9th, who sets a 1-minute 31-second lap time. But before we get to there, let's go through the rest of in between, I guess. Tairoki in 6th place with, again, a 1-minute 30-second lap time. I mean, they are tied with Risu for that 5th place spot, but Risu gets the advantage by a car number. That is the tiebreaker. It is car number. The car number breaks a tiebreaker in any circumstance, for the most part. I mean, it also really doesn't matter, for the most part. But if there is a tiebreaker, it goes to car number. So there's that. Fun fact. Hano Mizuki starts 7th. Malcolm Bell will start 8th. Soleil, like I said earlier, starts at 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is D. Now, I will not normally go over outside the top 10, but I will do this one real quick, as last week's winner, Iron Mouse, will start in 11th place. So that's where our last week's winner is going to start. We will have 82 laps around this road course. This is going to get intense. This is going to be a long race, too. It is going to be a very long race. And one thing that we should also mention too was the very, very much a presence of lead changes. So far this season, we have had a lot of lead changes, over 50 per race, consisting of more than 20 drivers. Does that continue today? I mean, we have a lot of laps. It's 82 laps. Will we see the lead change hands that many amount of times, or will it be died down a little bit? That is the main question that we will have to see here. But with that out of the way, let's get the pre-race ceremonies Let's get the pre-race ceremonies done and over with. Let's send it down to trackside for the live coverage of the Rainbow Road. We'll get one last look. Get one last look at the track itself and see how it runs. You'll get one last look at the field before we get rolling, at least full speed rolling. And once again, we will definitely be back here in the studio to talk more about the points and stuff like that all throughout the season. So with that out of the way, let's get rolling here. It is the Rainbow Road. We are ready to go racing. Down to trackside. Down here at trackside, 37 drivers all ready to take their first bit of action on a road course. Follow that BGM here as we got a little bit more of a starting lineup that I got to go through beforehand. But a good side note here before we get things underway is that standing start. Drivers are already lined up at the start-finish line as soon as we get done with the starting lineup. They will be full sending it into turn number 1. Normally we would have a pretty long pace lap, and it gets us an opportunity to see what the track looks like for those that are new to a racetrack, especially this kind of track like Rainbow Road. But since we do not have a formation lap or anything of that sort, it's going to be straight up a like gunshot, we're going racing kind of deal as soon as we get done with the starting lineup, which we'll blaze through it real quick. We are a half an hour into this show already, maybe a little bit less than that, but we do need to get this out of the way here. So let's quickly get ourselves settled here and finally get through the rest of the starting lineup. I already went through over the top 10, but a quick recap here. It is Bao and Dreamer on the front row. And then we got Nana in 3rd place, Lucky in 4th place. These two drivers finished terribly last week at Texas, getting involved in the first wreck. Nana got the worst out of it, technically. And with that out of the way, there's Risu, well, the dark horse that I've talked about so far in the points. They are sitting not only 5th place on the grid, but also 5th place in the points. Tairoki starting at 6th, Hado Mizuki at 7th, Malcolm Bell at 8th, Soleil at 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is, of course, D. Iron Mouse, last week's winner, starting in 11th. This is where now we get to see some drivers that I have not talked about in that pre-race segment. With Kobo starting in 12th place, they will start alongside Fruit. And behind them, it will be the number 10 car, William. 15th place starting spot will be our Daytona winner of Noriboshi. Lumen will start in 16th. Merriweather will start 17th. Star will start 18th. Bibble will start 19th. Cali will start 20th, trying to recover again from that terrible race that happened last week at Texas Motor Speedway. DM will start 21st, Watson 22nd, Weebu 23rd, DJ Overdrive in 24th, BP 26th, Kyoso in 26th, Henya 27th, Cebu in 28th, Sprite 29th, Fu will start 30th, David will start 31st, Soled will start 32nd, almost a 32nd starting spot for the number 32 car. Instead, it'll be 33rd. Lumi will start 34th. Melody will start 35th. Not another good starting spot for a driver that is struggling all this season, finishing in the back of the field. The bottom 7, like the most consistent bottom 7 driver so far this season, goes to Melody. Billion will start second to dead last, but starting dead last for the second time this season, Gura in the 1 car. Now, with that out of the way, let's finally get this race underway. As you know, the classic saying down in the F1 stages here, once the lights come on and the lights go out, it is lights out and away we go. Engines are firing up. You know what time it is. It is race time here at Rainbow Road. It is lights out and away we go. A great start by the 89 team of Dreamer. They are stacking up for a wide behind, but Dreamer takes a quick advantage. No, Bao slides it into the guardrail. Thank God for the guardrail. The Dreamer will hang on, but Bao's being really aggressive here in the start. Again, hitting the wall. One driver definitely not having a good run is the 26, who is being really aggressive. Maybe too aggressive. That is something we have not seen all season long, and that's a really aggressive driver. But we're seeing it right now with Bao already getting some side damage. Trying to take the lead away from the 89 team. She will do just that. Not for long. In the wall goes the 26, and back to the lead goes the number 89 to Dreamer. Bao is not careful here. Got a damage her race car. It's send her all the way. Oh my God. Speaking of send. What a horrible start for the front row. Caution is not out for that spin. But the 26. Oh my God. What a... Again in the wall. Done. Oh my god. And now into the pits. In the wall. In the pit wall. What a start to this event. Holy smokes. And with that, we have completed one lap. And the front row has been completely taken out. Actually, maybe not all the way, actually. Dreamer with a little bit of side damage. He's still doing fine. But a terrible start for the front row. Bow's in the pits, now sitting last. Dreamer's got a lot of left side damage. Currently, well, maybe just outside the top 20. Just outside the top 20. Meanwhile, the leader is Nana in the 85. Last week's last place finisher is now this week's front place runner. Hano Mizuki is right now being challenged by Tairoki in the 41. Just an absolute wicked start. I don't even know how to explain that start. I've never seen that before. There's your top three right there. Nana in the 85. It's challenged by Tairoki in the 41. Tairoki looking to set things up for maybe a quick pass. Try to lead a lap here early on. Cannot do it. We'll go on board with one of these drivers here in a second. Let's just try to see if we get some calmness here as they're getting into the final left-hand turn. I'll take them down that straight and past the start-finish line to complete lap 2. Tairoki looking... Oh, Tairoki with a little shove. We are 2 laps into this event, and it's been more action-packed than Texas. Tairoki takes the lead away. Risu up to 4th here and is now up in this main pack. Go back to 5th here. Whoa! Little bit of slipping and sliding. Lucky now in 5th. D in 6th. And Soleil close to spinning out, but hangs on to it. Out of battle for 3rd. Risu's trying to slide. Make something happen. Well, the way that these drivers are racing, I don't think this is going to be a caution-free race. Just saying. It's entertaining, though. An onboard look here of the 40 on the rear view side of the 41. This is Nana in 2nd place we're looking at here. You see what I mean by there's a little bit of uphill. They're going uphill right now. There's a couple swinging lefts that they got left here. And then to the left right now is the pit entry, and that's where Bao ended up going to. I don't know where she's at right now. She's still, yeah, she is still in the very back, and Dreamer as well. Front row is now in the last 2 spots right now, as Tairoki leads that lap. We'll go swinging into this left right here, and then a heavy braking zone here into turn, I believe turn 2. And then they got their first right, going into turn number 3. Not a hard break, but just a sweeping right. And turn 4. Couple lefts, but mostly... I'd say it's a fair split between left and right turns here. Turn 5 and turn 6. See, Nana just... Yeah, the thing about this track is that I don't think there's a whole lot of grip. And drivers are trying to see if there is grip or not. I mean... Little bit of... Ooh, that was close. Ooh, that was close. That was a good battle. That was a good battle. But that is how basically the whole track is laid out, as we see Risu up to 3rd, as we're side by side once again for the race lead, with Nana trying to take the lead away. That's gonna be tight. They're racing very tightly right now. Nearly touching each other. I think Tairoki has the advantage here, but Nana's going to have that left. Ooh, actually, Tairoki's got it there. Bao's back into the pits. The 2nd time today already. There's Dreamer by himself at 36. And then back here, it's pretty much everybody that... Yeah, that's pretty much that. Now back up front, still side by side for the race lead. Meanwhile, here comes Risu to try to make it maybe 3 wide. I would not be surprised. Oh, they're all sliding. Oh! Into the wall and sideways goes the 2 car. Saves it. Although he's going to lose a lot of track position there. Maybe a bit too hard into that corner went the 85. I mean, the whole top 3 went a little too hard there into that turn, but I think Nana came out of that product, like everybody did in that situation. They came away scot-free. This has been possibly the most entertaining 5 laps of my life. Just saying. I've seen a lot of entertaining laps. This is the most entertaining so far. Now Nana's got some damage to the left side of the car, which is a bit surprising considering how wide this track is. But they're using up all of it. They're using as much as they can. Now 3rd place goes to number 6 car, Lucky, who's currently being challenged, not at the moment, but maybe, you know, a dive bomb here and there by the 420 of Soleil. Soleil right now sitting in 4th place. As we've completed 5 laps of this race so far. The field is pretty spread out. We aren't seeing as close of a battle as we were back in both Texas and Daytona. There's Dreamer. But yeah, everybody's pretty single-filed out. Some side-by-side action here. Is back in the 23rd spot. Watson trying to hang on. DM's just about to overtake her. That's again back in 23rd. I saw somebody with side damage here. Was that... Somebody had some side damage back here as well. Oh, it's Selen. Yikes. There's a lot of people with some side damage here. Not surprising, though. Tairoki's driven completely away from the 85 right now. I don't want to say that's because of the damage. More so, it might just be the fact that the 41's actually running halfway decent compared to what's happening in the last couple laps for the lead. So, basically, what all transponded in the first 5 laps is that the front row, which consisted of Bao and Dreamer, they both have taken each other out of contention for the moment. Granted, there's still a lot of laps left in this race, but definitely taking yourself out in the first lap is probably a lot better than taking yourself out lap 30, and Nana's entering the pits. Looks like the 85 crew has decided to pit early. Might be just a thing of gotta repair that damage because it was definitely slowing down that 85 machine. Now Tairoki's out to a 2.5 second lead because of the whole debacle that happened between Nana and Risu. So now see a 4-car tango back here. This is for 2nd. Soleil in 3rd. 4th is being traded between the 86 and 87. But this is the closest battle that we got right now, or like as far up as we can. Fastest lap so far, it does go to Dreamer. It does go to Dreamer. Setting a 126, a little bit faster than qualifying. Conditions may be a bit different here. Simu is the one that is the slowest. Although probably for the, probably just saving up for the long run at least. But this is the battle for 2nd going on right now, and I don't think they're catching the current leader. And a glimpse of some of the drivers that are outside the top 10. Risu is losing some speed here. I want to say it's because of the damage as well. But this is a battle for 6. Ironmouth takes a 6th spot away. And we got Malcolm, Lumen, Merriweather, and Callie. These, and as well as Mimble. These are they're battling for the 10th spot right now. As we see, Merriweather might be sending it almost 3 wide. Lumen takes the 10th spot away right as of this moment. I think that's for 10th. Yes. I didn't register until I questioned it. But this is for 11th right now. So Merriweather trying to hang on and take the 11th spot away from Malcolm. As these two run side by side. The gap between 1st and 2nd is now down to a 2.5 seconds. Might actually be down less than that now. Let's go back up there and see what's going on there. Lucky's running away with the 2nd place right now, as 3rd is now being traded between 3 different drivers. Looks like Hano takes away the third spot from Soleil at the moment, but I think the one that's going to get really interesting is this battle for the lead. I think Tairoki was a little too conservative here. Probably not the worst idea in the world, to be honest. Definitely be better to be a bit conservative early on. I think Lucky is overrunning her stuff, but it's working for that 6 car right now. A couple more good corners here. We may see a change for the lead. It's now 5 cars back for the lead right now. Oh. Oh, the 6 gets shoved out of line. I think the 86 was... Oh, there's a yellow out. There's a caution out on the track. Safety car has been deployed 9 laps in. Well, let's take a gander back, shall we? When did it come out? It came out a long time ago, actually. Now, there's a guy coming out of the pits. I don't know who that was. Well, I don't know safety lights around this track, so it's hard for me to tell if there's a yellow flag, but let's see. Nothing up here. It was the last time by. Wow. Yoso's way off the pace. What happened here? Oh, wow. Watson's got some heavy front-end damage. What happened here? Is this the constitute of the yellow? Well, let's see what happened with Watson to get the heavy front-end damage. Oh, my. I think this might be the first incident. William going wide. Weebu also going wide. 2 drivers sliding up the track. Ooh. Ooh, severe rear end damage for the 11 team. William gets away just fine. That was the caution. That came out really late. I don't know if that was the caution, though. I mean, that would institute a caution, but I don't know if that was the caution or not. Was there something else that happened? Because if that was the caution, it might just be a debris caution. 47's off pace somehow. I don't know what that was. I don't see anybody else. Yeah, it looks to... I don't see anything right now. Except the 4 car in the pits, and the yellow comes out, so the safety car comes out pretty late. Again, I don't see anything that goes on. And this is again a replay of what's been going on the last couple laps. Go back to where we were at that time of caution. Which was right about here. So the safety car's been deployed. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. That was a late call for the safety team, or for the safety car come out. All right. Caution's out on lap 8, on lap 9 actually. I don't see anything else at the moment. Just a very late call by the race control to bring out the first caution. Bunches everybody back up, and that is a game changer for the drivers that pitted early due to like the amount of damage that they suffered. So both Nana, oh actually just a lot of drivers. I can't even just name 2. Just Nana, Bao. I don't even think Dreamer went into the pits, but I didn't see any damage on the 89, so he probably did at some point. Kelso may have went into the pits. There's a lot of drivers that may have gone into the pits, but so far, the only driver that is officially 1 lap down as of this moment is Bao, but since the caution came out, I think the 26 is going to get the wave around. I have no idea, though, because it is a big track. I can't really tell you. 26 is not doing anything at the moment. Probably going to wait until this time by. Well, as of this moment, I'm going to wait till they come through the pits to see if anybody pits this early. I don't think so. It's way too early to pit, but you never know. I'm not a crew chief. I don't know the strategy calls at all up top here. All I know is what I'm seeing. That's all I can say. That's all I can tell you. But I'll wait till they squeeze into the pits or past the pits, one of the two, and then I'll go through the field and see what we got. This has been a very different race from what the last two races have been. Texas was very calm. There they go. Yeah, there's some drivers pitting. Not a lot, but there's some. Very split strategy here. Tyroki and Lucky, top two, they come in, but there's a couple that do stay out. Hano stays out. Soleil stays out. Who else stays out? Looks like Risu and Merryweather, those two also stay out. Is it just 4 cars? No, it can't be just 4 cars. There's got to be more than that. Yeah, Callie also stays out. Bimble stays out. There's a lot of drivers that stay out. That's a good shot of the track, but not the one that I'm actually trying to see. It's the only shot that I got that's of the pit. We are already back to 1 to green here, so a very quick pace over here at this track. I don't know if that means that the 26 is going to be able to get waved around in time, though. Well, she's trying. We might see the 26 fly by here at any given moment, but again, don't know how that's going to work. They are pacing at quite a speed here at 60 miles an hour. It definitely feels quicker, though. So right now, it's Hano in first place, Soleil in second. There goes Bao. There she goes. Risu in third, Merryweather in fourth, Callie fifth, Bimble sixth, David seventh, DM in 8th place, Henya in 9th, Kason 10th, and Lucky is in 11th, despite coming into the pits. Lumi is in 12th place. And there's the rest of the field. There's William, who did not pit for the damage. There's Nana, who started up front, as they're checking up. There's Tyroki, who came into the pits in first. Star is the one that's in last place at this moment. Last in line. Bao's gonna not catch up in time because this track is way too huge for wave arounds here, but she'll be on the lead lap, so maybe a quick caution will bring her back up to the front of the mix here, or at least in the back of the mix, I should say. But we're going back racing here momentarily. The pace car is long since darted off, and they're just getting ready to essentially get back going here. Very chaotic first 10 laps. Let's see what happens moving forward here down the front stretch. 10 laps in the books. Got a long way to go, though. Green flag's back in the air. You have a lot of aggressive racing in the early goings of this race. Ooh, Soleil had a terrible turn 1. Now they're 3 wide for second with Merryweather and Risu stacking up. This is for second. Soleil gonna get the advantage here. Now Callie's looking to make it. Whoa! They're still 3 wide for second. Hard to tell who has the advantage. I know who doesn't, and that's Risu, who's in the middle of the picture. Soleil gets the advantage 1 corner. And then Merryweather gets the advantage the next corner, but Soleil with the advantages of 2 corners in a row still won't get the full advantage here. They're still 3 wide for second. Oh, Merryweather sends it. Tries to clear off the 2 car, and does. And Merryweather takes second place. Drivers are still flocking all over. Keeping an eye on the pace car here, just be sure that there isn't a caution that's going on around the track, another safety car, you never know. I'm too focused on the front of the field, something could happen in the back of the field, and I would not know. That usually happens, though, when it comes to these races. Hano leads this lap, Merryweather takes home second spot, but Soleil hard charging in third place. 11 laps down. God, lots of joshing around for track position here. These cars are not very grippy. Oh! Callie with a send on third place here. Just barely squeaking into the frame on that last shot. Side by side for second. Actually, third place that was. I don't think in a low line apex there. There's Bow in the 26. Uh-oh. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is not good. We have another safety car about to be deployed. Uh-oh. Lumen's in trouble, and I have no idea what happened, but it does not look good. That car's sitting on the pits. Oh, this looks bad. Oh, and it involves Iron Mouse, who won last week. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, no, what happened here? Oh, my God, it started up... Okay. Going backwards here. 20th place, Watson, losing a couple spots. Iron Mouse sends it on Simu, who goes up into the 4 car. That sends them into the Lumen, and Lumen goes up and over, literally up and over. Oh my God. Many times over. Wow. That is the first time I've seen a car flip over this entire season. What terrible luck has that 52 have gone into? Okay, so Iron Mouse just sends it on Simu, who goes up into the 4 car. And then Lumen, with nowhere to go, just rear ends the 22. And then who hits him again? Fifi and Selene. Well, Selene hits Fifi in the rear. So Fifi with a little bit of front end damage. And then Lumen just goes up and over. Safety car that time gets called out early. Look at Star, though. Oh, my God. Dodging it just by a slim margin there. Being in the back might be a good thing for this race. Let me get one look here. On board with the 24. Get to see how close this was. Just look at the melee that's going on in front. Whoa there. A little too close there. Especially because I think Lumen ends up covering that gap. Yeah, he ends up going on top of the guardrail. Jesus Christ, man. There's Iron Mouse with a whole slew of rear end damage. Last week's winner. Not gonna have a good race this week, it looks like. Selene with severe front end damage. Fifi, how does Fifi look? Front end looks halfway decent. A little crumbled up, but not as bad as some of the other cars. Simu is alright. Doesn't look too bad. This is for the race lead. We haven't technically taken the safety car. This is for the race lead right now. We technically haven't taken the safety car. Yeah, they're still racing back to the line. Side by side for the race lead. Merriweather lets out a little bit. Keep an eye on Soleil on the 420, maybe making a move here for second. And does not look like they will. All looking to be nice and orderly here as safety car has been deployed for the second time in 13 laps. What was a very clean race last week at Texas, it is not the same here already. But I also assume to be another quick safety car session. Quickly get a chance to run through the field here with 13 laps about to be completed. This is, of course, barring if they go into the pits this time by, which is a possibility. So Hano takes home first place at the moment. Merriweather second. Soleil third. Callie in fourth. Bimble hangs on to fifth place. David sixth. Risu in seventh. Kason eighth. Good day for her so far. DM in ninth. Henya 10th. Lucky in 11th. Lumi in 12th. DJ Overdrive in 13th, Sprite in 14th, Philly in 15th, D in 16th. Dreamer getting back up here, and back up to 17th. Speaking of 17, the 17 car in 18th place. William in 19th, and Nana back in 20th. Kyoso actually is starting to gain back some spots. but still back in 21st. Fruit 22nd, Simu 23rd, Purple 24th, Daytona winner in 25th, Fifi 26th, but probably going to go in to repair some damage. There's the rest of the field on back. I think Weeboo got through that one, actually, although I thought, well, and there's the driver that is not going to probably have a good day at all here today. Probably going to retire, I don't think. I mean, when you barrel roll like that, that is more than just a question if they're going to... It's more of a question of how the hell will they be able to stay in this race. But in any case, Lumen again, a driver that I have not talked about a whole lot of in this season so far. He's been up front maybe a handful of times, especially at Daytona. But a bad finish today is going to put that 52 in deep water for the rest of the season, for the most part. You see another handful of drivers coming into the pits this time. Soleil, I believe, is the other one. Yeah, Soleil goes down, Risu goes down, DM goes down. Looks like D, Simu, Hobo, Fifi. I knew Fifi was going to go down. Gura, Selen, Iron Mouse, those last few, well, at least some of those last few, preparing some damage. But only like a couple of drivers this time going into the pits, which is a bit concerning if they are that way, as we are back to 1 to green here. Another quick pacing safety car session, I guess. But now with that, that means Merriweather and Callie will be 1-2, Bimble 3rd, David 4th, and Case on the top 5. So I don't know what the fuel situation is like here at this track. I failed to realize what the fuel will be like here, but I assume once you get past lap 42, or 41, which is the halfway point, you'll probably be fine. Usually you can make it on one stop after, you could probably make it on one stop depending on how long the race is, but 2 safety cars already 14 laps into this event. Starting to look more like Daytona out here than it is Rainbow Road, to be honest, the way that these cars are running. See the cars coming off pit lane in the very back of the background. Let's see, where would the... So there's Soleil, who I believe would be 25th, maybe 26th. And Hano coming out in 22nd, maybe 21st. I don't know at the moment. Definitely outside the top 20, as the rest of the field ahead of them didn't stop. It also does look like that Hano and Soleil both came out in the middle of the pack and not at the very back. So if you could get a good, like, quick pit stop, you'll probably get yourself out front, to be honest. At the very least, you know, if you slap on 2 tires in record fashion, probably skip a few positions and come out with fresh tires. You never know. That's something to think about here as we got the pace car in and we're about to get set to go back racing. 14 laps completed. Merriweather's going to lead Callie and the rest of the field on down. Green flag's back in the air. Let's see if we can get another green flag run here. Like an actual long green flag run. Side by side for second going into turn 1 and 2. Callie hangs on for the moment, but here comes Bimble with a nice little dive to the bottom. Callie's going to have the advantage here going into these next couple turns. As Bimble slides up the racetrack, going a little too hot. Callie has a good corner, tries to take the lead. Bimble trying to recover, cannot do it. That makes David an opportunist coming up to third. But Callie takes first place away. And Merriweather's also going to probably lose second. And he does. So now the top 2, David and Callie and David, 1-2. Battle for third, Merriweather trying to hang on, but he is having a horrible restart as Kason looks to the right. Actually, to the left. I don't know my left and rights from right to left. Merriweather's losing a lot of spots here, as well as Bimbo. They've fallen back a couple spots already in this restart. Merriweather back to 4th. Bimbo back to 5th. Those two are battling, but speaking of battles, got a battle for 1st here as we got David just nosing out to the left of Callie, trying to take the lead away. And not do it this time by, but he's still peaking. Not really side by side at the moment. Callie leads that lap. David trying to set up for a good pass here, going in turn 1. Now they're side by side for the race lead, but Callie throws it out ahead. A good turn 1 by Callie that time by. That gives Kason a chance to take 2nd. Cannot do so at the moment, but Kason will have the advantages here, next 2 corners, unless David chops her off. There was an attempt at that. And now with a big attempt for the race lead goes David. Cannot complete the pass, though. Cannot complete it. Tries it again next time in the next corner. And has it for the moment and runs with it. All right, new leader, 77 car. 2nd place now, Callie. Hanging on to a 3-horse tango. Merriweather and Kason trying to outdive each other. Merriweather's gonna hang on and stay side by side with Callie. Callie's got the momentum though. Tries to outrun the 60 and does that time by. Has a little bit of a run. Maybe he's looking to get back into the race lead. Noses out to the left of David. Just like last time by, but the roles have been reversed this time. Maybe the bumper to the back? Can't really tell from that angle. But they're right next to each other. But David leads a lap here on Rainbow Road. That is a bonus point for the 77. As Callie, whoo, little contact there. Little contact. The 73 car gonna just live to fight another corner and go on board with. Let's go on board here. Side by side for the race lead. Ooh, a little close there. Callie takes the race lead away. David trying to hang on, but Merriweather right there following suit. Goes Kason trying to take 3rd place away and is looking to do just that. Very tightly side by side, right in front of Kason right now. Merriweather hanging on to 3rd right now. They're still side by side for 3rd. David clears the 73 and now tries to run away. Can he do that? They've been struggling with trying to pull away from each other all race long, though. I mean, technically all season long have they been struggling to pull away. It's almost as if you get into the race lead, you do not have the clean air advantage. I mean, we literally saw a 2-second gap get cut down in like what was like a lap and a half. David leads that lap, but here comes Callie with another big dive into turn 1. Cannot complete that pass this time, but watch for the dive this time. Actually, no, David saw that coming. Chops the nose off the 73. Cannot get the gas to the floor that quickly. Oh, sends the 73 way out of the groove there. That brings Kason back into the picture here in 2nd. Couple bad corners by the 73. That's going to put the 32 in prime time position for the race lead. As once again, side by side for the race lead. Kason's going to have the advantage. This corner lets out slightly. Getting a little bit of understeer on that exit. That's going to bring the 77 out ahead. As they're battling very tightly behind. There's Henya. Henya back in 5th place in this picture. Dreamer's back in this picture too. He's inside the top 10 after what all happened on that first lap. We see Lumen now 4 laps down in 37th. Looks like he has retired officially from this race. See Gura and Selen, those two are more than well, almost a minute behind the pack, so maybe something happened between those two cars. I don't exactly know at the moment what the deal is, but they are way far behind this pack. They're on their own planet at this point. David leads another lap. David's doing a real good job at defending, but oh my god, when you have two cars throwing it in, how are you going to defend that? They were 3 wide for the race lead. I don't think David was going to be able to defend that. Kason now takes the race lead away. Kason to the race lead. Callie trying to take second from David, but David's hanging on. You got the top 4 right on top of each other. Well, I guess well, pretty much the entire field at this point. Dreamer again hanging on to that 126 fastest lap time. I don't know if that's going to be beaten or not, but hey, it could. You never know. They're running pretty slow right now, but I think they're just running a bit more conservatively, considering what we saw in the first 10 laps. If that was how they were racing aggressively, I would much rather take what we're seeing right now. They're 3 wide. Speaking of Dreamer. They're 3 wide back there. And that's for the, I want to say the 7th spot. 6th or 7th spot. That's for 6th. Getting a bit more spread out here. For the moment being, with Merriweather in second, trying to chase down David. David's doing a good job at defending, even though he got sent 3 wide the last time I said that. He is doing a fine job right now at defending the race lead. You see the remnants of that crash early on. Those will be there for the rest of the race, so as battle scars on the track, if you will. It was a good camera shot for what we got going on behind Merriweather. Callie trying to take away that second spot right now. They're side by side for second, but David's kind of just chilling out. Not really running away with it, but at least getting a good car length, half a car length of a gap between him and them. Hana Mizuki's back in the picture as well, back inside the top 10. Mentioned how they were leading on the last caution flag, and then they came into the pits. Soleil's up to 18th after falling behind because of the pit stop. But they definitely could stay out a couple extra laps depending on what the rest of the field is planning on doing for pit stops. So that might come back to actually help out the 420. Never know. But the battle that happens closest to the front is the second place battle right now between Callie and Merriweather. And then after that, there's a bit of a gap till 4th place Henya, and then everybody is kind of on their own after that. There's Reamer in 8th. He started in 2nd place and then got sent into the wall by Bao, who I haven't spoken to at all about as... Oh, we got a race lead. We got a lead change going on right now. Callie with a couple sends of the century takes the race lead away from David. All right. That's when I thought that David could hang on to a race lead. They have a sudden lead change. Now Callie takes the race lead away, and now David's trying to pick it back. We got a 4-car tango here for 3rd place. Merriweather, Enya, Kason, and Hano. These 4 trying to take away one piece of real estate, which is that 3rd place spot. Another race lead battle going on right now. David, can he clear off the 73? And he can. Starts pulling away as Henya's right on the door of Merriweather for 4th place at the moment. Actually, no. Yeah, 4th place. David again. A good run. In the second half of the lap. Looked to be in danger of losing a couple spots, but instead just powers through second half of the race. The racetrack. Takes back the lead and pulls away a slight gap. Now Merriweather takes the 2nd spot away. Kenya hanging on to third. Kason and Callie battling for the fourth place as well as Hano. Dreamer's going to look to take that spot away from Callie as well. Callie's starting to fall back a few spots. There's Lucky, who also came into the pits, as well as Soleil. Soleil's back in the top 10 now. And Fu. Fu, I haven't talked much about Fu at all today. They're back. They're getting up into the picture here. Remember that David started in the back of the field. I don't know where much of these guys started again. I can't remember off the top of my head. Remember 37 different starting positions? Yeah, that's going to be hard for me to do. Merriweather's doing really good right now trying to close down this gap. It was almost a second and a half. And now it has closed down to only like a handful of tenths. Maybe even a lead change coming up. Oh my god, Henya, if Henya has anything to say about it. I have a sudden change for second. Last week's Dominator looking to repeat that same level of dominance this week. So far, though, that goes to, again, the 77 today. This is crazy seeing the top two Dominators of the season in the top two. And they are battling for the race lead. Side by side. Henya going to get the advantage going into this final turn. David's going to hang on. But I think Henya's going to edge out ahead. And does. So Henya will lead another lap. That's an all-important bonus point for the 30 crew. And now Solei's back into the top 5. A driver that pitted the last time, the last caution, I should say. They are back out into the top 5. Are they running faster laps than a 134.4 compared to a 130? Jesus, the 420 is blazing through this field right now. Up to, oh, they're 3 wide. I mean, that can work if they're being a bit conservative, and they are. This is all for second at this moment. Now Hano Mizuki, another driver that pitted around the same time as Soleil, is also in the picture as we see Merriweather just squeezing out ahead of David and takes the race lead away. But I would not count out that part. Oh, that's Soleil right now, just side by side with Hano, who's being held up by that 77. Oh, there goes a bad corner there by that Soleil, though, and that allows Hano to move to the side. He's now going to try and take the race lead away once again. I wouldn't expect the fresh tires to be much of an advantage, but here I am talking to these two, the 86 and the 420. Those two pitted on under the last caution. Those fresh tires really do make a difference that early in this race. Hano takes the race lead away. Soleil clocked in on third place, crossing that line, but is currently side by side with Merriweather for second. If you take away the first 10 laps of this race, this has been a very entertaining race. Side by side for the race lead, Merriweather trying to hang on, Soleil trying to do a little bit of a dive bomb. But a big check up there by the 86 allows the 77 take back the second spot. There's a whole lot of action here. I would normally like to go through this field, but I cannot stay away. I cannot get away from this lead. I go back, I'm going to miss like 15 different changes for the lead. And positions, rather, but same thing. Merriweather and David, top 2. Third place goes to Soleil at the moment. Hano in 4th and Henya in 5th. Top 4 kind of spread out from 5th. You see Soleil trying to take second away from David. It's kind of like what we saw at Texas, where if you go side by side and you slow yourself up, you're going to give yourself an opportunity for the other guys to come back and make something happen. Still the fastest lap of the race goes to the 89 at Dreamer. Still inside the top 10. 24 laps have been completed. Hano now trying to take the second spot away from David. is unable to do so in turn 1. David's going to try and make something happen in turn 2 for the race lead. They're peeking. They're doing a lot of peeking. They're moving around their cars. They're trying to not position themselves directly behind the person in front. On their onboard look here, Hano Mizuki goes for second. Cannot get it at the moment. I will say this, there's a lot more off throttle today than there is last week. Oh my god, that was close. You could not cut that any closer. Wow. That, I was expecting to commentate over a live wreck. That was scary. That was super close. Wow. I mean, you couldn't have put yeah, literally, you couldn't put a sheet of paper between those two. That was scary. That was for third. We aren't even halfway through this race either. We are far from halfway through this race. We are only on lap 25. This feels like I've been commentating for like 50 laps. I've only been commentating for 13 of this green flag run. Side by side for second. Soleil's going to take that spot away and just kind of let that 60 car know they are right there. Side by side for the race lead. Surprisingly, even with the fresh tires, Soleil and Hano cannot immediately get by the 60 that quickly. As soon as I say that, though, there they go. Wait, nope. Here comes Merriweather's putting up a hell of a fight. I think for the moment Soleil has it, but all it takes is one hell of a corner by Merriweather to change all that. Soleil has it for the moment. As soon as I say that, here comes Merriweather. Side by side for the race lead. They're also side by side for third behind them. Soleil's edging out in front at the moment. But it's one of those tracks where they can lead a corner, but it's not going to give them a point or anything like that. They got to lead across the line, and that's one of the hardest things to do. I hang on to this last corner. This will be the third race in a row that Soleil has led in. That's another bonus point for them. And with how, I mean, Soleil, again, going back to the points, Soleil sitting in second place, only 1 point behind Noriboshi, who is, Noriboshi is, where is Noriboshi? Oh my god, where is that 94 car? I feel like I'm dyslexic. I cannot read this chart well. Oh, 13th. Okay. Noriboshi sitting in 13th. That means right now Soleil's having the points lead right now. I mean, the last two finishes for Soleil, the easiest I can remember, because it is both fourth place finishes for this crew. Out front and pulling away at the moment. Will that be the case for the rest of this race, though? A good opportunity to get some points, though. I mean, again, when Noriboshi's sitting in 13th place, in fact, I just saw her in this frame. There she is. Whoop, no, there she is. There's the points leader heading into today's race, but as of this moment, that is not the case. The current points leader is the one that's leading the race right now. Nori is really trying to undo that, though. Remember, one position is a point. So each position that Noriboshi gains is a point. Well, the same could be said if she loses a point as well. Oh my god, nearly shit. I don't even know. I want to say there was contact. It definitely looked like there was contact there. Noriboshi now cracks inside the top 10 this time by and is getting into the 17 car. Points leader really trying to undo what is going on at this very moment, which is a not so good points day considering how tight it is for the top two. First place, again, in the point standings is Noriboshi, but only a single point separates her and the current leader of the race. Noriboshi needs to get a lap led as well. She has only led a singular lap this season, and that one singular lap was the last lap at Daytona. Did not lead a single lap at Texas, which really hurt her chances. She did finish pretty well, but again, without leading a lap, you are also diminishing a hell of a finish. Especially with, again, how many cars have led laps in the last couple races. This might be one of the only races of the season where we're going to have only like a small handful of drivers leading a lap. I mean, I say that, but there's been a lot of leaders already. Like, a lot of drivers have led a lap. But on road courses, they are one of the only times you're ever going to see drivers not... You're going to see a lot of drivers not leading, especially. See Merriweather going to the pits, so we got green flag pit stops here. Several drivers from the front are pitting. Which also means that if the currently top two, if these two do not pit within the next couple of laps, what has brought them to the front ultimately going to bring them to the back. Noriboshi clocked in at 5th place, and is actually in 4th place at the moment. So I think Nori is going to try and see if she can get a lap led. I mean, she's also just going nuts right now. 132 to the leader's 134 of a lap time. You're going to see me compare lap times a lot here, especially in the second half of this race, because with how big this track is, a 1/10 of a second is a lot. I don't think Nori pitted under that caution, but she is racing like hell right now. And what I can only assume to be that she saved up her tires, because she was in the back of the field for a while under this last restart, and is now just completely like in the same boat as what I was talking about Hano in Sole a while ago. Nori is just trying like hell to do something, and is now going to enter in the pits. If that's how she races, with what I could assume to be not so fresh tires, we may be looking at a 2-time winner here today. Maybe. But again, these two have not pitted. And now they're racing each other very hard. Or at least Hano is. So here's the top two. And they've separated themselves by a wide margin. There's a couple drivers that have not pitted. Several that have been in the back for most of the race. There's Tairoki, who was leading early on and fell back. But these drivers have not really pitted. There's Gura, who... Did I see also Solen too? Yeah, these two have brought it back up. I assume that they pitted as well. Short pitted. Because again, they were almost a full minute behind this pack. Behind everybody. What I can only assume to be that they short pitted and are trying their best to play a different strategy game than everybody else. I mean, that could work. But, you know, as we saw last week, it could also not. Just depends, brother. You had Kelso and Solen. Solen, for the second week in a row, has decided to try and do some really drastic things. They try to short pit everybody. I don't know, bro. I don't know. You can get away with it once or twice. But you better not make that a consistent thing this season, because you are not going to, like... The way that we've seen some drivers race this season, I mean, we got one leading the race right now. If they stay consistent throughout the rest of the season, it's gonna make the mistakes that happen between Solen and Kelso very much a bigger factor. I mean, we are only 3 races into a 30-race season. You can make a few mistakes early on in the season, and you will still have a chance for the championship. But I always look at it as a 3-strike policy. You make 3 mistakes in a race. You make 3 mistakes in 3 different races. You are really giving yourself a harder chance for a championship. There's David. David's coming out 14th. So it looks like the top 13 all have not pitted yet. As we see, there is a look at the gap between 13 and 14th. That does say to me that the top 13 have not pitted yet. Goes back to Nana, who was leading earlier, then got in the wall and then pitted. And then go all the way back here. And there's David, Kason, and Nori, I guess the top 3 in the second pack. But they're not top 3 technically at the moment. Risu's up in this picture too. There's Risu in 3rd place. Like I said, the dark horse of the season, sitting 5th place in the standings. Looking to have a halfway decent finish today, as we see some other drivers going into the pits. Who's that one? DJ. Oh, there's a couple others. Kobo, Nana. That's it. All right. So 3 that time buys. So now it's down to just 10 drivers that have not pitted. Risu is setting a 133 to Soleil's 134. More than a second faster. And is hard charging for the race lead. And again, like I said, the top 10 have not pitted. So it all comes down to just the drivers saving the tires and now using them to go at it. As Risu's looking to take the race lead away, but Soleil's gonna put up a fight. I don't blame him. That is bringing the rest of the pack, though. That is going to bring the rest of the pack. Now, short pitting has its quirks. But one of the biggest cons for short pitting is the fact that you are allowing the guys that have already pitted with fresh tires to come blazing through a whole lot quicker than what you're currently running. I mean, I want to watch this battle here because Risu is putting up a fight. But once we get a small break, I want to compare lap times between the top 2 and where David is sitting. As we see now, here comes Soleil. Here comes... Anybody staying out? Gonna be DM this time. All right. Let's compare DM's lap time this time to David. As we see the rest of the field pinning behind... well, in front. Now behind. So, DM sets 133.5. Gura sets a 131, which is kind of crazy. But again, I think these two kind of pitted a bit earlier than DM. A whole lot earlier. Like as soon as... I don't know when is the last time these two pitted. David sets a... Oh, god damn. 129.9. I mean, more than 3 seconds quicker. Basically. Basically more than 3 seconds quicker all lap. And if that gap continues to dwindle down, right now, it is sitting at 16, almost 17 seconds. That thing dwindles down more and more, you're putting yourself farther back in the field. I mean, that puts you in a chance to have a good run once you go into the pits, because you'll have the better tires. But that also means that you'll have to use up those tires to get that sad track position. We see Gura now trying to take the race lead away, which I wouldn't be too shocked. Oh, actually, I'm a little shocked that didn't work that time. Looks like there's, like I said, I mean, we are in outer space. There's not a lot of grip on this track. I mean, we've seen a lot of off throttle here, more so than Texas. There goes DM. So now it's only Gura and Selene, who technically have already pitted, but they pitted, I want to say like 2 or 3 laps under, I don't know when, like I said, because the last time I looked at the leaderboard when we went green, I saw that the 1 and the 3 were more than a minute behind the rest of the field. So they pitted way earlier than the rest of the guys. A 132, David sitting a 131, slightly quicker than Selene. As we see, this is now what the main pack is once those two leave and go into the pits eventually. These two, I'm sorry to say this, if you are a Gura or Selene fan, they aren't going to have a good race today. They just aren't. They are way too screwed right now. They pitted way too early. I mean, I could be shocked, but they could make a last-ditch effort to do damage control, but there's that. This is what would technically be for the race lead. And the question is where is Soleil? Where did she come? Oh my good lord, where did she come out at? Wow. That's not good. Terrible pit stop for the 420 car. Came in first after a little bit of short. That's what short pitting does. That is what short pitting does. You run the risk of falling back that far back. Just outside the top 20 at the moment. See a battle for the race lead. Technically the race lead. Solen will lead that lap. And Gura's gonna send it in next time. So these two, so not only are these two screwed because they are way off sequence from the rest of the field, but they're also destroying their tires the way that they're racing each other. The gap is now down to 11.5 seconds between these two and this main pack, which consists of David, Kason, Noriboshi, who now is technically back the points leader, I think. I don't have live scoring on top of my head at this moment, but what I assume to be is the points leader, considering where Soleil is. Then you got Henya, Merriweather, and Weebu, who started in the very back of the field, had a great pit stop, and is now coming up through there. And then you got Callie in the end of this here, and then the gap between them and these folks. Soleil's still inside the top 20, though, once these two decide to come into the pits and continue their off-sequence battle. But at the moment, right now, this is who is like the realistic race leader is at the moment. While these two up front are giving us a hell of a battle for the actual race lead, the one that is going to be the race leader, like for real, is David. And he's kind of just by himself at the moment. He had a 0.5 of a second of a gap the last time they clocked together. That's only 0.2 of a second that time. Oh, wow. Well, now that I just say that, I keep forgetting that this road course here is very much not like a normal road course. Just because you have track position doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. That's Kason. Out ahead of David. Kenya just behind that. Now Gura trying to take the race lead away from Solen, and will do just that. Has the fastest lap changed at all? No. Still a 126.826 by the number 89 car Dreamer. As Gura took the race lead away, and then Solen took it right back. These two are giving us a hell of a battle for the race lead for first and second. This is a battle for third at the moment. What I'm noticing here is that David is really terrible in the first half of this track, and then in the second half of the track, he is doing really well. He gets past quite a lot after going into like turn 1 and turn 2, but he comes into like what I would say turn 7, turn 8, and then he just kind of gets at it. He has a couple bad corners here and there, like what he just did there. But he holds on pretty well. Don't look now, but the fact that these two are battling, you can see that that pack is also really catching these two. 132.9, 132.8, and a 130.1. Oh my good lord. The gap's down to 3 seconds. There was a 3-second, like, wow, that's huge, dude. That is a huge difference between these two. That just tells you how terrible of a strategy those two are playing. Essentially, at some point, Kason at the moment is going to be the race leader. It's a matter of when. Not even a question. It's just a matter of when. I mean, like, they're right. Like, you see the 3 and the 1. They are in frame. And you go to look at this battle here, and you see the rest of the cars are in frame. Like multi-class racing at its finest. You got the 2 slowest cars against the rest of the field here. Only because they're bad on strategy at the moment. Kason side by side with Henya. Gonna get very interesting here once they actually catch them, because what do? You could use them as a pick, Kason hangs on to that battle, by the way. So hangs on to third at the moment, but they are hard charging. They are hard charging the front two right now. Terrible strategy called by the 3 and the 1, and they are going to lose a lot of positions. But more importantly, they are going to play a huge factor in splitting this field up into millions of different cars. I normally would say this is lap traffic. But these are just cars that are just really trying desperate things here. A 129.8, a 132, 3 seconds faster than... Like, there's a 3-second difference. They're side by side, right in front of Kason. Kason has nowhere to go but to just shove that one car out in front, but that is also holding her up as David's looking to go 3 wide. What a move! Wow! Put that down a move of the year. That is easily one of them. David to the race lead. That was crazy. He used Selen as a pick and is now using Gura as a pick to get back out front. What a move. That was insane. All right. David to the race lead. Kason to second. Selen breaking the field up. It is now just 3 cars. Technically 4, but do I even count Gura? I don't even want to. I mean, no disrespect, but like realistically, Selen and Gura are just bona fide special lap cars. They're special because they aren't lapped. They're just slow. Noriboshi hanging on, but being held up tremendously by that 3 car. Merriweather's gonna use that as an advantage here. Surprisingly, now that I say that, that 1 car is holding up everybody behind David. Like, they just can't get around them. Catching them's one thing, passing them's another. That's a classic saying for racing, but like, it's coming to fruition right now. I mean, like, they just can't get away from them. Like, they're 3 seconds quicker than the 1 and the 3 car, but they actually, you can't tell the way that they've been struggling to pass them and put them in the rearview mirror. Top 2 have broken away from 3rd place Henya at the moment. Might see a lead change here in the next couple seconds. I almost have my psychic powers activate right there. Gonna work right now. Give it a couple seconds, that may actually happen. I want to go through the field real quick. Merriweather 4th, Gura 5th, Noriboshi in 6th, Cali 7th, Weebu, well, Selen in 8th, Weebu 9th. Go back a little bit of ways outside, or who's in 10th, Bimble 11th, Dreamers in 16th. Dole is just inside the top 20. Some drivers that are in the back of the field there. There's Hano Mizuki. Bobo in 34th. Nana in 35th. D in 36th. Literally in no man's land. Now we're back up front to the race lead as it's Henya who now takes the race lead away. We only have 1 driver out of the race, and that is the 52 car of Lumen, who got involved in what I can safely say is the worst crash so far this season, going upside down over top multiple times. much getting a good idea of just in that cockpit view. You get a good idea of how much off throttle there is and how much they're shifting between gears. I mean, this is the first time this season they're really utilizing all 4 gears. The only time they ever do outside of this track is, well, when they're on restarts and they're going from first, second, third, then they get up to 4th gear, and that's that for the rest of the race. Henya's pulled out a little bit of a gap here at the moment. This is the closest battle, which is for 2nd. We got Kason in 4th, Moriboshi in 5th, but being challenged by Callie, who is being challenged by Weebu. Then you got an entourage back here for the 9th place. Bimmel at the moment. Actually, that might be for 8th. Yeah, that's for 8th. There's Melody. Melody's coming up to the front of the field, who's been having herself a terrific race so far, considering their last 2 races have not been terrific. And Dreamer up in the top 15, which is kind of good for him at the moment, but considering he started 2nd, it's not been a very good race. But considering what happened to Dreamer on the first lap, it might as well be a win. He's even involved in the top 15 in the first place. Getting absolutely dumped by the number 26. Still no battle up front other than the 2nd place battle, so that still continues. So we have an opportunity to actually look at some of the battles going on behind top 10. I like to be able to do this more often, but I have a hard time doing so when I really want to watch the lead pack. That's what's important at the moment. There's a big train of cars right here, just a ton of them. And you'll notice that once Gura gets out of the way of everybody, it is really just kind of single file for the most part. A couple side-by-side battles here and there, a little pack of cars here and there, but it's that Soleil's starting to get back up front. While not running a fast time, actually, let's see. Yeah, while not running the fastest times, there's a 130, 130, maybe a 129 here and there. Soleil is running a 129, so they are quicker than some of the drivers that are in front of them. But it just comes back to track position when it comes to short pitting. You use up a lot more of your tires when you are short pitting. You're faster on the short term. You got to be careful on the long term though, because you're using up your stuff there. There's a 1:32 lap, or a 1 minute 30, I should say, not a 1:32. That is a bit longer than what it actually is. Soleil's sitting at 3 wide on BJ and Dreamer. I'm keeping an eye on Soleil mostly because they are 2nd in the points coming into today's race. I want to keep an eye on both them and Nori. See where the points are going to be, because they are going to shake up quite a lot. I mean, we could also see somebody that I'm not really talking about a whole lot today be involved in the points battle. That person may actually end up being somebody in the top 2, and that might be either Henya or David. Maybe even Merriweather. The top 3 have been really consistent this season as well. So if it ain't Nori coming out of the points lead today, it might be either David or Henya, depending on where they actually finished. We are slightly more than halfway through this race, which is a little insane because this has been going on for about 2 hours. Hour and a half if you get rid of that pre-race intro. Top 3 are all just by themselves, and they aren't really doing anything crazy around each other anymore. They're kind of just logging laps, if you will. Good term there that I like to use for whenever things aren't really going the way that they used to, in a good way. That was a shove by Philly to try and move that 17 up the track. So there's still some aggressive battles. No doubt about that. It's only with a 128. There's a lot of people setting 128s. Ooh. Looks like the field got a little quicker that time by. Starting to slide around a lot more now that I'm looking at it. Might be the tires. Maybe the drivers are starting to get a bit more aggressive now. getting into that long period of a green flag run. We haven't had a caution since lap 12, I think. Lap 12, lap 13, something like that. Pace car is by himself, just sitting lonesome. This is back here. D is sitting at 36. This is Selen. It looks like Selen... I don't know if Selen finally pitted or just finally was like, oh, they caught me. This is a very tight battle here. This is for 8th place, 9th place, 9th place. There's Lumi coming into the pits. Looks like you can only really go about like 20-ish laps on fuel. 25. Maybe tires. Maybe that's tires that they're going in for. I know that we're seeing some drivers going into the pits again, which I assume, like I said, it's probably just... I mean, again, that's good. I mean, we go from having a 60 lap green flag run to they could barely make 20 laps. Well, then again, 60 laps that were logged in 27-second fashions. Here we have lap times in the minute 20s, minute 30s, so that's pretty close to what we were seeing back in Texas. Merriweather's like there. Might be looking to battle for second. That's why I'm keeping my eye on David, because, I mean, when you got your eye on second place, you get a good view with third place and first place at the same time. Getting that all-seeing eye kind of deal. Looking at all the battles that are going on. See if they pit this time by. Does anybody in the top 3 pit? Nobody from the top 3 pits this time, so they look like they're all trying to do their own thing, it looks like. Top 3 have pulled out to a over 5-second gap. Nearly 6. Over 4th place this time by Nori. Soli's up to 14th. Stars up to 16th. DJ's back to 15th. Grim's climbing up. Trying to battle, get up to 12th. Booze drops back a few spots in 11th. Melody's up in the top 10. Billion trying to get another good finish inside the top 10. Billion finished second to dead last at Daytona and took that shit personally. And has finished second, trying to get another top 10 finish here today. But the battle that went really aggressively for the race lead early on, it has turned to be a pretty... I want to say a pretty conservative approach. Nobody's really dive bombing each other in the top 3. They're all racing with actual respect for once. But you do got to remember, too, that Henya could also be on track to lead the most amount of laps for the second week in a row. This is a rare feat. Well, this is the second week in a row that Henya's been pretty dominant after a couple pit stops. This time, by the gap between top 3 and 4th place is now down to 4 seconds, as now we got a race for the lead. David's trying to take the first spot away. Or at least he had a run, so he took the run. Top 3 might be running a bit more conservatively than the pack that have from 4th on back, which I'm not too surprised. I mean, this is the smallest amount of cars for the race lead that has happened all season. Like, this has been a consistent 3-car pack for, I think, 5-10 laps. Definitely a lot longer than what we saw at Texas. Pack did split up at Texas during pit stops, but it quickly formed up as Jesus Merriweather is going deep for second. Nori's getting back into the frame here. What was a 4-second gap has dwindled down to what might be less than 2. I believe pit stops are also coming as well. I mean, we saw Lumi go into the pits. I don't think, has anybody else gone into the pits? I think there's been like, no, Soleil's passed just a few cars. I think Sim is going down this time by. Yeah, Sim is going down this time. So there are some drivers that are looking to do a little bit of short pit here, short pit strategy. There's a battle for third behind here. Noriboshi looking to take the third spot, and actually does. A change up for third, maybe a change up for second. Another battle for third behind. Merriweather's not taking that battle lightly. Putting a gap there between second and third. Emble may even make it 3 wide. Thinks twice about it for the moment, but that's allowing the 94 to have a good run off one. And here comes a dive bomb by the 60. Slides up. Got a battle for the race lead, side by side. There goes David, throws it in. Tries to take the race lead away. Has the 30 car clear. I was trying to run away from the 30. It looks like he will do just that. Nori again trying to hang on to third. She's going to do just that for the moment. Merriweather's going to try and shove that 94 back a spot or two. Big dive bomb here. Maybe even 3 wide. Send that 94 up 3 wide with Bimbo and Weebu. We'll file that out. Back to single file. Good battle back here for this 4th place spot at the moment. Still nobody pitting up in this top 5. This main, what I think is a top 10 pack. I don't think the top 10 plans on pitting anytime soon. Melody's 10th. Solei's up to 9th. No, Solei's actually 10th. Melody's 11th. There's been a few cars pitting in between here. You got the top 2 on their own little battle, and then you got a lot of other cars behind battling them. We'll keep an eye on Merriweather here in 3rd place, see if anything comes up between him and Nori or anybody behind. We'll also try and keep an eye on 1st place, as that's a tie battle once again. And Kenya's looking to go side by side with David, and it's going to do just that. Send them a little contact there for the race lead. It was calm for a moment, but you know what they say, it's calm before the storm, and here comes the storm. And he throws it in, tries to clear herself off the 77, does just that, and that's allowing the Merriweather to get back into the picture for 2nd. It's been a hell of a race. I mean, after the craziness that was the first 10 laps of the race, this green flag run has been very entertaining. Handful of lead changes in this race. Definitely not as many cars leading the race. You see some drivers from the top 10 pitting this time by. I think it was Kason and Melody, those 2 pitted. But not as many like drivers leading. Really just been a mixture of Henya, David, and a handful of other cars, but definitely not as much as we've seen in the past. That could all change here. We still have 30 to go. A little bit more than that, actually. David hanging on to second, but he is being really challenged by that 60 car right behind him. Gonna actually try and take the lead away from Henya. It's got a big run going. It's gonna move to the left of Henya. Dives it into the next corner. He's gonna bring the 60 car with him. Now David and Merriweather move up a spot. Another lead change here at this track. It should be coming up on pit stops here again. Anybody this time go in? Looks like Henya and Nori. I see if anybody else goes in, but I cannot tell. That might be just that. Yeah, for this main pack, it's just those two. That leaves David and Merriweather to fight for the moment. That leaves a lot of other cars behind as well, as we see this is for third. Bimble in third, Weebu fourth, and now Soleil back into the top 5. Or at least trying to get back in the top 5 at the very least. This is right now the battle for second. Battle for first, actually, with Merriweather in second. Merriweather trying to just get a slight bit of an advantage off of a corner. Moves to the left of David to try to take the lead away. Cannot do it this time by. Look for the dive bomb here this time in this corner. There's a left-hand turn. See if Merriweather does anything here. Doesn't do anything there, but he sets up well for the next corner. Depends on if they're going to pit or not. Now they've ran, I want to say they've ran about 25, 30 laps. Might have one more pit stop after this. They might have one more pit stop after this. Can't tell ya. Bimble moves into the pits, and so does Weebu. Side by side for the race lead. It's now only 6 cars in this main pack. No contact there between top 2. And they got Fillion in third, Soleil in fourth, Callie and Star. Top 6. That's where this main pack has gone. Bad corner by the 60. Very bad corner by the 60. Got the 78 right in contention to get up front. I don't think Fillion has led a lap at all today. She started in the top 5. Actually, probably started, started in the top 10. I don't think she started top 5. I can't remember off the top of my head, but definitely started up front. I think 5th or 6th. Running 3rd at the moment. Soleil's in the frame as well. Back in the frame, 4th place. They're all nose to tail for the race lead. Not quite bumper to bumper, but they're right there. And there's Star and Callie just in the background as well. They may be pitting this time by. I don't know if all 6 are going to pit this time by, but I know a few are going to pit, I think. It's dwindled down to less than 10. Nobody goes in this time by, actually. Crazy when this game proves me wrong. David hangs on for a lead, though. There's a battle for 4th as Star in the 24 is looking to take that spot away from Soleil. Once again, David has been really defensive, and he's doing a damn good job at it, too. He's not really good in the first half of this track, but when he's being defensive, he is one of the most defensive drivers. One of the better ones at that, too. As that battle for 4th rages on behind them. Ooh, big check up there by Merriweather. Still slides off the track. If this stays green the rest of the way, this is going to shape out to be one of the more intense battles that we have seen in a in our young season so far. And we've had a near photo finish. We have had side by side. We've had battles going on throughout the entire track and big wrecks happening on the last lap. It's shaping up to be even better, especially with the first 10 laps being the way that they've been. Might be getting a little crazy here. Soleil's the next one going into the pits here. Billion moves up to second. The thing is, too, is that there's a lot of drivers that have pitted. They're starting to catch this pack because they're waiting too long to pit. I know that they're probably trying to see if they can just wait and only pit this last time and run the rest of the way. That might actually be one of the best strategy to call for. If you can make it the rest of the way, then do it right now. There may not be another safety car in this race. I don't want to jinx it. And if there's not another safety car, you want to try and make it the rest of the way on this stop. You see Billion decide to go a little door slamming with the 77. Got the pack behind. This used to be this is a 5-car pack. Gonna increase here momentarily. Got Dreamer in 6th, Lucky in 7th, Sprite in the picture here, DJ in 9th, and then DM in 10th, Tyroki in 11th. Pobo's in the picture as well. There's Lumi as well. I know Lumi pitted. Billion takes the race lead away. 131, a bunch of 131s, and then you got a bunch of nearly 129s. They're 3 wide back here. Melody out front of Pena there. That's interesting to see there. Noriboshi is just only a few spots. Actually, yeah, Noriboshi's only a few spots ahead of Soleil at the moment. David's in the pits. Is he the only one that pitted out of this group? Yeah, looks like it. It's only 4 cars at the moment. I mean, Fillion's running away with it. Right now, Fillion's running away with it. This is the closest battle at the moment, which is for second. David making the right call to pit at this time. Where's he coming out at? There he is. Wow, look at that. Just out ahead of Soleil. He is back quite a few spots. The field is going to shake up quite a bit, actually. I mean, not everybody has pitted yet, but I really have a hard time keeping track. I've had a hard time keeping track on who has pitted. Green flag cycles of pit stops are really hard to call. Especially if everybody's deciding to go down at a separate time. Got a handful this time by Merriweather, Callie, Dreamer. There's Lucky, Sprite. They all pit. It is hard for me to tell who has and who hasn't pitted. That is the main thing. Battle for the race lead here. This is for the race lead. Star is going to move into the race lead. I think this would be the 3rd race in a row that Star has led. If they make it all the way across to the start-finish line. Because technically they are leading, but if they don't cross that line and get that all-important bonus point for officially leading a lap, it's not going to really count. They are pulling away quite a bit. I mean, DJ's also coming up, but Star also kind of set a really good lap. Just where everybody's starting to file out at. That's through the field real quick. Again, don't really know who has and who hasn't pitted other than at the moment, I know Star and Fillion have not pitted. I think DJ has not pitted yet. I know a lot of drivers have not pitted. I know the one that has pitted looks like Kason and Lumi. These two have already pitted. Fillion goes down into the pits. Star stays out. Smart move, considering DJ did not stay out and Star needed to lead that lap. I don't think she would have been able to if that was not going to be the case. But now DJ's in second, DM in third, Tyroki fourth. Go back a little bit of ways here. There's a battle for third at the moment. Kason fifth, Lumi in sixth. Right now, seventh place goes to Simu. And you got Melody and Selene battling. First and second are in their own dimension, where we got a battle for third here between DM and Tyroki, who I believe need to pit as well. Yeah, what I'm seeing right now is the gap between fourth and fifth. It looks like fourth on the up has to pit still. And for the most part, everybody else from fifth on back has already pitted. Or at the very least, yeah, I mean, Selene, again, one of those drivers way off sequence, is able to hang on out front for a little while. Not gonna really be able to hang on for much longer. I think Simu tried to short pit as well. A lot of drivers that tried to short pit. Star, again, staying out another lap. DJ's the only one that goes in that time by, so it's down to 3 cars. At least, for the moment. Nobody pitting from on back. There's David battling with Fifi. And there's the pole sitter, Bao. We haven't talked much about Bao ever since the lap 1 ordeal. 127, I mean, they're hanging on. They are hanging on. Star just out front. This is the biggest gap that we have had all year long for a lead between first and second, which is about 6, yeah, a little more than 6 seconds. Close to 6 seconds, actually. At least that's what it says on the top left of the screen. Fastest lap still goes to Dreamer, although there was a little bit of a change up for the fastest lap. A lot of drivers had it right on that tail, but Dreamer still has that fast lap. Nothing really too much to it. You don't really get anything for having a fast lap. You just kind of have a fast lap. Star finally goes into the pits. But DM and Tyroki do not. They'll stay out another lap. But Kason blazing through this field right now. Oh, there's a little bit of contact there. Ooh, that was close. Kason, one of the drivers that has pitted already. Lumi as well. Melody, Bimble, Henya, Weebu, Dimu, another driver that was short pitting. I think Fu kind of short pitted as well, but to a degree, Fu is doing a better job with the short pitting. And there's our points leader, Nori. Soleil and David are having themselves a battle. Oh my god, watch out for the guardrail. I'll say this right now. If that guardrail did not exist, there'd be a lot of folks out of this race just from falling off the track. I mean, we still almost had somebody fall out of the goddamn track, even with the guardrail. Kason took the lead, and it is just, whew, man, gone. That 32 car is gone for right now. The theme of this right now is we see those last two are finally going in, DM and Tyroki. The big theme here is the fact that you do not want to short pit too late. That makes sense? You don't want to really pit too late. You pit too late, you lose a lot of track position. While, at the same time, you do gain a slight advantage for having a faster car than the rest of the field. I will admit that. I mean, we got David who pitted late. It is setting a 126.9 compared to a lot of drivers who are setting 128s or a little slower. I mean, Kason set a 128. And there's a bunch of people that have setting quicker laps than her. Where did Star come out at? They were one of the later ones that pitted. I'm gonna wait till... I'll wait a few laps to see what they're up to in terms of speed. David's getting himself into a pickle right now. This is for the 13th spot. David's a whole lot quicker than Gura is. I mean, we've already established that situation with them. And I don't know what Val's situation is. They are a little bit slower than David last time by. I think it's just because that she pitted just a little bit, like maybe a couple laps before David. That's it. There's a battle for third. Kason running a little bit conservatively at the moment, but it's still got a 3-second lap. Oh my god, 3-second gap, I should say, between first and second. Trying to correct myself as quickly as I could, but Melody got sent way off the track, nearly into the guardrail. Soleil about to crack the top 10 again, but so is a 77 car. Actually, where is Noriboshi? Oh, there she is. That's on. Never mind. A little concerned for a second, but my eyes couldn't see a hot pink 94 car in 8th place. All Soleil really needs to do is just be, I don't want to say in front of the 94, you realistically just be right behind her, like directly behind the 94. And Soleil would be the points leader. Because Nori has still not led a lap, I don't think. There's been a whole lot of lead change. It's hard to keep up with all of them. Bimble up to second. Battle for third right now. Melody and Lumi. Ooh, don't get a little too cocky there. Don't want to shove up. They've been doing a lot of pinching, but the thing is with pinching, it might not work. It might not work. If a driver is aggressive and they really want to stay aggressive, pinching them, it's only going to result in both of your cars getting totaled. And that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you kill the whole field. That's happened before. The gap is down to less than 2 seconds now between first and second. I mean, it doesn't look like that on the top left of the screen, but I can definitely tell that it's closing. It is definitely closing. We're seeing that leader getting a little too ahead of themselves here again. Last week's terrible pole sitter is now this week's, well, trying to go from 33rd to 1st. Same situation. Wait, well, there's a caution. Wait, a safety car. Safety car on track. Well, not on track, but what happened? I don't see, oh, I see something. There's smoke here. There is smoke in one of these turns. What happened? Oh my god, it happened a long time ago. There it is. Oh no. Oh no. The day just gets worse. The day just gets worse for the outside pole sitter. I'm going to need a better camera angle here. That's not a better camera angle. I guess we're just going to go with what we got, I guess. So it looks like Lucky, Dreamer, and Hano. Hano just can't get any sort of lucky, can they? Like, no pun intended. They're 3 wide. They're squeezing. Little too tight with the squeeze. And around goes the 89. Just, oh, hard into the guardrail. Hard into the guardrail. Full speed this time. Oh my god. I mean, they got it right back going, but... Ugh. That's a questionable call to bring out that safety card, but the woes just keep on piling up for not only the outside pole sitter, but also Hano Mizuki. Third straight week of getting involved in an accident late in the race. Well, that is beyond game-changing at this point. That is beyond game-changing. So now with the caution out, that's going to bunch everybody right back up. And if everybody comes into the pits, that also means that everybody's going to be right back on equal tires and stuff like that. But if they also don't pit, they're also going to be a very big, like, difference between tires and stuff like that with the differing pit strategies. Wow. 40 lap green flag run, which isn't saying much. That doesn't sound like a lot, but we have gone an hour and a half without a caution. And that ends right now. It ends right now. I need to turn this game up while we got a chance to do so. There we are. That's game changing. Wow, I don't know about that call on race control though. I mean, it was a 2-car spin and it was in the middle of the pack, but it was also how big this track is. We didn't really need a full safety car for it. But if it was like a short track like Bristol, or any other short track for that matter, yeah, I would expect it, but that brought a gap down from what was dwindling under 2 seconds to now, well, we're gonna have like more than 20 cars able to battle for the race win. Not even for the lead, it would be for the win. We have 18 laps to go when we cross the line, so you know that the final 15 laps of this race are going to mimic the first 15 laps of this race. And that's scary for me to say because that means that I don't think we're done with the safety cars. And a handful of drivers are pitting, but there are a lot that are staying out too. There are a lot of drivers staying out too. So we got differing strategies in the last 20 laps of this race. Let's see who stays out. We got Lumi, David, Thole, Callie, Kyoso, Gura, Sprite, Merriweather, Risu, Billion, and a bunch of other cars that I can't make off the top of my head at the moment. I can't tell from this how quick they run. But those drivers and a handful of others, they stayed out. Okay, here we go. There's a better shot. We got Billion, Lucky, DJ, Star, Kobo, Dreamer, TM, Tyroki, Timu. They all stayed out. I think Selene also stayed out as well, but Kayson's right in front of her. And everybody from Kayson on back pretty much pitted. So we got one to green here. Got Lumi, David, Soleil, the top 3. Callie and Kyoso round out the top 5. Gura's in 6. Sprite's in 7th. Go back a little bit of ways here. Merriweather in 8th, Risu in 9th, and Billion rounds out the top 10. We're gonna have a dog fight in space. Oh boy. Differing pit strategies. This is gonna get interesting here. With 17 laps to go. 17 to go when we cross the line. Will Kason be back up front? Will they have enough time to get back out front? And David waited a little bit of a while to pit. Lumi is one of the first drivers to pit under that last green flag pit stop sequence. So Lumi's at a big disadvantage right now, regardless of what's going on with Kason and them back in, I want to say 20th place or something like that. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 19th. Kason's back in 19th. Back in 19th place is Kason. First car that pitted. Well, not really Selen, they didn't pit, but they came out in front of it. But you get the point. Pace car's off. 17 lap shootout here. Maybe not the last time we see the safety car, but I hope it is the last time we see the safety car. Green flag. Lumi with a terrible start. 3 wide behind 2-car Tango. David, tell me if you've heard this, back to the lead. Galley looking for second. 4th place being determined right now by Sole and Kyoso. Sole trying to also just get 3rd place right at the moment. But yeah, Lumi has some... Lumi's going to have a hard time defending the drivers that pitted late in that green flag run, because, like I said, she was one of the first. They're dooring off, I don't know, 6? I don't know. They're dooring off a turn, that's for sure. They're also really stacked up behind, too. 3... Not 3 wide, but I did see some 3 wide. This is for 3rd. Sole. Ooh, up the track. Technically up the track on that turn. Here comes Sprite into the picture. I haven't called anything about Sprite at all today. There she is, right up into the top 5. Or getting close, I should say. Getting close. For the lead, again, it's Callie versus David. Into the final turn. There's a number 77 that David's going to lead this lap. The top 2 have kind of formed a small breakaway, but we've seen it before. David's really... This is kind of a good thing, but also a bad thing for David. He's really good at defending, but he's also really good at bringing back the pack. So, right now it's a top 2 breakaway over a second, but I am noticing that Soleil's getting bigger and bigger in these shots here. Also really close to that guardrail, so they're getting really antsy. Only a small handful of laps, well, not really a small handful, but a chunk full of laps to go. You can hear them shifting up and down. Want to be careful with your shifts. Don't shift too early. Don't shift down too early, or you will destroy that motor, and you will go from a good day to a horrible day. You'll join Lumen in the fucking retirement home. Top 2 still kind of hanging on, but again, David isn't really known for hanging on to these kinds of small packs. He's out front. You see the tire marks from that wreck. 67 laps will be completed this time by. Still a lot of time left, though. Still a lot of time. Callie buying herself a lot of time too. Isn't being aggressive at the moment, which is probably a good thing. That's probably a good thing. There's the top 2. Sole in 3rd, Kelso 4th, Sprite 5th, Merriweather 6th, Fillion in 7th, Lucky in 8th, Star in 9th, DJ in 10th, Dreamer in 11th, 12th place being battled between Risu and Simu in 13th currently, DM in 14th. And then there's a gaggle of cars for 15th on back, which includes some of the drivers that were really dominant earlier. Lumi. Looks like she came out of the pits. I think Lumi just came out of the pits. Yeah, the 157 kind of tells it right there that she came out of the pits. Okay. I thought she wrecked, but no, Lumi just got into the pits. I don't know why. Why would you not pit? All right, whatever. Just set, you know what? I don't know, whatever. I'm not the crew chief. Side by side for the race lead here. Callie's trying to take the lead away and keep an eye on that 420 car in third place. They will probably close that gap. Especially if this is a tight battle for first. Callie's gonna squeeze out ahead. They're still side by side entering turn 1. Going into turn number 2. Callie's gonna hang on. And again, like I said, I kind of figured so. You're side by side. You're slower than a car that is all alone. Soleil's up in this picture now. I saw Bao in the pits. Oh, Risu's in the pits too. Oh, man. Yikes. Bad day. That's not good. That's going to be a bad finish for that 2 car then. That's going to be a bad finish. Just as I was talking good about her chances. It's going to be a bad finish. You don't want to pit with this amount of laps to go. They're still side by side for the lead just as soon as I say that, though. Callie, oh my god, getting tight. David trying to cross over. Cannot do it, though. Callie takes the lead away. Sprite, I have not talked about Sprite at all today. But watch that green 90 card coming up into the picture. Same with Kilso. Good performance by Kilso. We're talking a lot about the top 3, but 4th and 5th, they have a chance to be an upset. Does not matter how you do in the first 99% of the race. That 1% at the end is what matters the most. 13 laps to go. Soleil's joining this picture here as it looks like Sprite takes away the 4th spot for the moment. Maybe not. Maybe not. That's a battle back there, but there's a battle up here. Top 3 now, all fighting for the first place. David looking side by side once again for the race lead and is going to clear, maybe not, off the 73. They stay side by side. Soleil could make a 3 wide at some point. Maybe this time by. Dives it. Cannot do it. David's going to lose first. And maybe even second. David hangs on, though. Still hangs on. Has to get back that first place, though. Across the line, it'll be 12 to go. Sprite now charging up into this frame here, getting bigger and bigger in that rear view mirror. Be interesting to see if Sprite can pull off something crazy. I mean, the way that they've been running, I mean, it's gonna be, again, like I said, an interesting finish regardless of what happens. Callie hanging on. David trying to be a bit more aggressive. Not so sure if that's gonna work out. Callie just running her line, trying to do what she can to hang on to that first place. Soleil trying to hang on to 3rd at the moment. But you got a hard charging Sprite. Somebody that I have not, again, talked a whole lot about, not only this race, but this entire season. Let's not take away from the fact that we look at what Callie ended up getting involved in last week at Texas. It was just an awful race by that 73 team. Getting involved in the first wreck, and now all of a sudden, here she is. Got a chance with 10 laps to go. To go from 32nd last week at Texas, well, first place. Got Sprite looking for third, trying to overtake Soleil. Soleil hangs on, though. These top four have a 2-second gap between everybody else. And the way that they're running, they can maintain that gap until they start racing each other more aggressively. Now, while all this is going on, got to also look at the point situation here. Soleil in third, and Noriboshi back at 31st. Soleil's going to lose third place, but bigger picture there is that Soleil's going to have a chance to come out of this race with the points lead. That is also to say, too, maybe David or Callie can sneak their way up in the top of the top here. I say that, though, but David is back in, like, the 20s. Near the top 20 spot, but definitely not a very good situation to be in heading into this race. But with a good performance here by the top two, I mean, this will feel like the points lead coming out of this race if they hang on. They officially right now have 10 laps to go, though. But don't look now, Sprite. She's looking like the real dark horse in this situation. Risu may be the dark horse of the season overall in terms of the points, but in this race, it might be this 90 car. Stayed out, but also at the same time, too, you got to realize that Sprite was one of the later ones to pit. And since these cars have not pitted since that last green flag run, a lap, 2 laps, 3 laps, it's going to mean the difference for these tires. I mean, we saw it with Lumi. Lumi was one of the first ones to pit under that green flag stop, and she had to pit early in this green flag run because she couldn't make it. She tried to stay out. Same thing with Solen and Kyoso back last week. It just didn't work. Allie's doing a real good job at playing defense right now, and that's what she has to do. 9 laps to go here on the Rainbow Road. Can Callie be defensive for 9 more laps, though? It's a battle for second. Sprite's looking to take second away from the 77. Again, David trying to be more aggressive, but the term being more aggressive is using up more of this racetrack, which is not a good thing. Especially on these tighter turns. You use up a lot more of your car and you slide and you set yourself up for failure. You don't have a lot of speed. You will not have a lot of speed. That's what I'm seeing right now. David's using up a lot more track than Callie is, but Callie, the difference between the top two in that regard is that Callie is pulling away from the 77. Maybe not pulling away, but at least maintaining the gap and maybe even putting a small gap. A bigger gap, I should say. Single file through most of this track. I mean, there's a lot more than 4 cars right now and battling for what will be the race win. But it's all going to depend on how well Callie can defend and how aggressive David's going to drive. The aggression's going to pick up here within the next couple of laps. There's still a lot of time left, though. Again, with these lap times being over a minute long, it may be about 7 laps to go this time by when they cross the line, but it's still a long ways away. That's still about 10 more minutes of racing. And that may also not sound like a lot, but given the fact that the time interval between first and second last week was 0.08 of a second, 10 minutes might as well be 10 hours. we're keeping an eye on what is a battle for 4th place between Soleil and Merriweather. Top 5, I mean, most of the top 5 have been pretty, like, up front all race long. The only one that I can think is Sprite. Although Sprite's been up in the top 15, maybe top 10 all race long. The farthest she has been all race long. Sitting in 3rd place at the moment. Not really setting, nobody's really setting faster lap times than each other. All really much on top of each other in terms of lap times. We'll see this time by though. Callie sets 129.094, 129.138. Yeah, they're all pretty identical. Sprite maybe a slight bit faster than the two before her, but I mean, it's only about a couple tenths of a second, which isn't really that much considering the gap is kind of just there. It's just there. There's not much that David can do. They're all pretty equal on top of each other right now. It's going to take something here for that. It's going to take some changing up. Maybe a back up on some of these corners to get a better exit off the turns. Maybe see if they can intimidate one another and make the car ahead of them make a mistake. That's all it's going to really take. I mean, there's a lot of battles going on throughout the rest of the field, especially when you get back in the 20s. You got Nori back here, just not something you want to see out of the points leader. There's Bao, who's gonna just a day to forget, basically, for the 26 crew. A day to forget by basically the whole front row. Six to go when they cross the line. It's a group of 8 cars, 8 or 9 cars that are separated together by 2.5 seconds. And then you got a big gap between that and 10th place now, who is, what is Simu in 10th place? But he's still about 3 seconds back. Battle for second, maybe. Sprite was looking like they wanted to make a move on the 77. It looks like they are going to make a move on that 77, try to take that second spot away. This is huge. Because what we've seen in this final green flag run is that there has not been a whole lot of movement between these cars. Oh, they're getting right close to the guardrail, though. They're getting tight. These cars are getting tight. Trying to push them. The drivers are trying to push them. Especially if they're on the verge of losing spots here. David overdrives it, and now Sprite has a chance to take that spot away. Callie's like the only one that I'm not really seeing overdriving the corner. She might be pushing it a little bit, obviously, but it's definitely not pushing it as much as the cars that I'm seeing battle for the second spot. This is these 4 in the frame at least. The 4 behind the 73 car. David's hanging on to second, but the more that they battle for second, the more that the 73 is going to pull away. But it also depends on if Callie drives more conservatively because of that gap between first and second. If Callie starts being a bit more conservative and David or Sprite become more aggressive, that's a recipe for disaster for that 73. Even if that 73 is doing pretty well for themselves at this moment. It's still 0.5 of a second between first and second. The gap could come down at any given point, especially if second place drives more aggressively than first. 5 to go. David with a run, maybe had a run for a minute. Still trying to see if they can get a run going. They cannot. Sprite's going to try and make a move. Side by side for second. A big dive bomb by the 90. Edges out ahead of the 77. And she hang on. Whew. Close to contact there. Sprite's going to take second away from David. Good run off the corner here. It's going to put David just slightly... Ooh, that was tight. I got tight again. David still stays side by side with Sprite. Merriweather to 4th, not 3rd, 4th. Oh, David up the track. That's going to clear that 90. for second, and now David's on the verge of losing third. 4 laps to go here. Sprite to second. David on the verge of losing third. Squeezes out ahead. He'll hang on to third. So now it's Sprite's turn to see if she can take away what is essentially a battle that a leader that cannot be moved. Only a handful of laps to go, and Callie not moving a muscle. They got to do something drastic. Second place, whoever it may be, is going to have to do something drastic here. David in the guardrail. Going to lose third, maybe even fourth. David overdriving just a tad bit more now than he was before. If that's the case, then you're going to see some cars coming up from the bottom half of the top 10 and maybe move up a few spots. That could open up the door. I mean, look at what we got back here. 3 wide for fourth. David trying to hang on. Dole trying to improve. Tairoki trying to get back up front after being up front early on in the race. Got Melody in the picture. They're going to be 3 wide again, almost 4 wide. Melody trying to get up front for the first time all season. Soleil's going to lose a ton of spots. Get the worst out of that whole exchange. Fall maybe outside the top 10 out of all this. Because there's 11 cars in this pack, and then you got a bunch of them behind. Selene somehow in the picture here. Call me shocked. Call me shocked. I didn't think Selene would have a chance for a top 10 in this race. How's Gura doing? Okay, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the lead here. 3 laps to go here on the Rainbow Road. Top 3. Callie, Sprite, Merriweather. And then you got a bit of a gap here to whoever wants to be in fourth. That's a dogfight there between Tairoki, David, Melody, Fillion, Lucky, Dole, Simu, Star, Belen. I didn't think I would ever call that name for a top 10 spot, but here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else in the world. 2 laps to go when they cross this line. Sprite overdrives that corner. That could open the door for second. Again, does anybody have anything left for that 73? 73's been driving a perfect last 10 laps. All that 73 car could do was just maintain what is a good race car. A good, clean race car. Callie could end up winning this race. 2 laps to go. But the pressure's on. That 90 car is giving that pressure more so than ever. And this is as close the battle is getting. Oh, the 73 sliding. 73 sliding. 73 sliding. The door's getting open. Here comes... Oh my god, they're sliding. They're 3 wide behind top 2. Here's Melody. Here goes Tairoki. Where do they come from? Legit, where do they come from? That 73 car. Uh-oh. Slidey. They're getting slidey all of a sudden. Oh, the leader's in the wall. The leader's in the wall. Callie hits the guardrail. Tairoki to second. Right. Drops to 4th. Maybe even 5th. Tairoki got sent. Callie's being ultra defensive now, and it's starting to cost her. Look at this pack we got for the race win. Melody to second. Melody to the lead. Side by side. Callie big in the wall. There goes her chances of winning. It's over for the 73. Here comes the 36. Again goes the 73 in the wall. There's big problems on the 73 now. It's over for the 73. The window is open for that 36. White flags in the air here on the Rainbow Road. Can Melody hang on? No pressure from behind. This is the first laps. The first amount of laps that Melody has ever led this season. But the pressure of leading and maybe even winning, it's starting to get to that 36. Here comes Sprite, Merriweather. Oh, the leader again in the wall. Melody again in the wall. The pressure. It's mounting up for the race win. Tight goes to 36. Into the wall again, goes to 36. Massive damage on the left side of that 36 car. Here comes Sprite. Looking to send it. Again, this is for the win. This ain't for anything else. This is for the win. Melody has a lot of damage on the left side, but Sprite send it in on second place. That may be all she wrote. There's still a handful of corners left, though. Melody with a small gap, but here comes... Oh, that's tight battle side by side. Again, Melody hits the guardrail. That gap's gonna close. Here comes Sprite. She gonna send it? She's gonna send it. Takes the race lead and makes it stick. Off a turn 11 or whatever, Sprite somehow picks up the win on the Rainbow Road. Holy moly, what a last lap. Nobody wanted to win that race. Everybody that led in the last 2 laps overdrove every corner there could be. Holy moly. That was a finish. What is officially a 2/1000th of a second victory. We cannot stress enough how close that was. Sprite picks up the win after a dive bomb of a century. Let's go back one more time here. Get a sense of how deep that was. I mean, look at this. I mean, look at the gap between everybody here. There's a big gap between first and second. And then Melody ends up in the wall. One last look here. Melody overdrives it, hits the guardrail, loses all the speed in the world, and then here comes Sprite, sends it, little contact between her and Melody, hooks it, gets that grip, and that was all she wrote for that 90 car. Absolutely amazing. Might not be mathematically the closest finish, but that is definitely one of the best finishes we have had all season. What a finish. Nobody wanted to win it. Really, nobody wanted to win it. Everybody that was leading from Callie to Melody, they didn't know what to do with themselves. They did not know what to do with themselves. But Sprite was the one that wanted it the most. Sent it in. They almost wrecked. Like, if you saw on that replay, they had a little bit of contact between Melody and Sprite. There was just that little bit of contact where it could have been bad. That could have been disaster. But it was right, like, it was just a tad bit of a tap. And that's what gave the 90 car, I want to say, that grip to just hook and just drive it all the way to the finish line first. What a race. Well, maybe not the cleanest road course race in the world, but definitely one that I'll say, definitely one of the best races I've had so far in this young season. Even though we've only had 3 races, that's gonna be hard to top that. A last lap send, a last lap that was chock full of chaos, And in the end, Sprite's the one that came home clean. One of the cleanest race cars on track, which isn't, I guess, saying much, but hey, I mean, they want to be aggressive early on in this season. That's what you're going to have to do. Oh, man. All right. Now that we know the winner of the race, let's take ourselves over and into our final results for this race here. The qualifying list. There we go. Now let me move myself over here. There we are. And now here is what is essentially the final results of the race here on the Rainbow Road. Now, obviously, like I said before, Sprite, the one that picks up the win after the chaotic last lap turn of events. And that is Sprite's only lap led in this entire race. So twice now has the winner of a race led only one lap. And that being the last lap. Melody gets second, which is still a good finish for Melody regardless. I mean, they started in 35th. Sprite started 29th, and those last two names I just named off, they finished 1-2, or second first, technically. But Melody gained a lot of spots and ends up in second. Lucky, from a good starting spot in 4th place, gets 3rd place out of all of that. Merriweather in 4th. Selene somehow, I don't know what in the world Selene ended up doing between the last caution and the finish, but she somehow ends up 5th after what was essentially a write-off race. So, good performance by Selene. Tyroki finishes in 6th. He also started in 6th, so there's that. Simu in 7th, Billion in 8th, Iron Mouse in 9th. Callie rounds out the top 10, not leading the most amount of laps. She did lead 14 laps, but David's the one that leads the most amount of laps, but he finishes 11th. Stole in 12th, leading 6 laps. Star in 13th, DJ in 14th, Kelso in 15th, DM in 16th, Weeboo in 17th, Boo in 18th. Dreamer, a good recovery out of not only getting spun on the first lap, but also getting turned late in the green flag run. Good recovery by Dreamer regardless of the finish. He'll get 19th. William in 20th. Bimble will finish 21st. Nana 22nd. Another bad finish for the 85 team. V will finish in 23rd. Kobo in 24th. Fifi 25th. Hano 26th. Brute 27th. Noriboshi, bad finish for what was the points leader heading into today's race, will finish 28th. Kason 29th, Gura 30th, Lumi 31st, Henya 32nd, Risu with an abysmal 33rd after being up front most of the race, Malcolm 34th, Watson 35th, Bao 36th, and Lumen the only one that is officially retired from the event after the barrel rolling accident that took place in the first 10 laps of the race. Well, I want to say it was like close to that. It was like, 12. Lap 12, they retired and will finish dead last, 70 laps down. 17 drivers led a lap today. They traded the lead 26 times officially, although it was a bit more than that, but officially, yeah. Henya led 11 laps, but they'll finish 32nd. Not a good finish by Henya. David, who was second for most of the race and did lead most of the second time this season that David has led the most amount of laps, but he'll finish up at 11th after being in second with only a handful of laps to go. So with that, let's go to the points now. After 3 races of the VTuber Racing 2024 season, Soleil will take home the points top spot for the moment. It is still very close though between the top 2, as the winner, Sprite, will only be about 2 points behind Soleil, but Sprite will gain 5 spots, but not the most out of the top 10. DJ Overdrive in 3rd, 12 points back. Merriweather 4th, 13 points back. Then you got Noriboshi, who falls a few spots, but still keeps a top 5 in the points, but still 16 points back. Iron Mouse gains 3, gets up to 6th place, so a good finish for Iron Mouse for the second week in a row. Simu gains 6 spots and will go into next week's race, which is at Martinsville. in 7th place in the points. Star in 8th place. Callie gaining 9 positions, which is the most in the top 10, and will put themselves in 9th. Fu loses a couple spots and is going into the next race in 10th. And then rest of the numbers here, I'll let it just kind of play out here because I've been streaming for 3 hours. My voice is kind of killed at this point, but let's see. Malcolm lost 11 spots. Kason lost 10 spots as well. Lumen and Bell both lost double-digit points positions here. Fruit's last place. Fruit's in last place. You don't see Fruit. You don't see anybody from 32nd on down, so I'll go through them real quick. So you see Fifi in 31st after losing 3 spots. Watson in 32nd, losing 9 spots. Gura in 33rd place after losing 4 spots. Dreamer gains a spot, but he's still 34th in points. Hano loses 2 more spots and is sitting 35th. Nana in 36th, and Fruit in 37th. Still a handful of drivers that have not led a singular lap. Risu is the first driver that is lap led list. In terms of that, the most amount of laps led in the top 15 is David. David has 30. Well, actually, it's tied between David and Henya. Those two led 35 laps both. So there's a lot of laps led between those two. After that, let me see who else has led a lot of laps. Fruits led 21 laps. That's tied with the points leader. That's tied with Soleil for the most amount of laps led. So far, the points battle, there's only 4 drivers that have more than 100 points. Noriboshi is close to that mark, but sitting at 99 points. So there's a lot left here for the points. So what a race. What a race. A lot of interesting notes here coming out of this event, and we will look forward to see what Martinsville holds. I am excited for Martinsville now that that Rainbow Road race just happened. If that's what a road course event's going to do, can you imagine what a short track's going to be like? Good lord, that's going to be fun. Short track racing has a lot more action, regardless of every other race type. So, yeah, that's going to be fun. So, that out of the way, thank you all so much for watching. I will be back probably tomorrow morning with something. I don't know, probably just chatting. Probably, more than likely. Yeah. But I will be back. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a good day.